just plug in the rest, how come mine's not?
Yeah, but we also said 5 days out, come back, wear a mask for 5 days, and then they get
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, September 12th, 2022 Litchfield Board of Selectmen meeting. The board just came out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing we have is a review and approval of consent items. We have an account payroll manifest of August 16th, 2022 in the sum of $6,389.61. August 23rd, 2022 in the sum of $66,318.54. August 30th, 2022 in the sum of $1,021,278.52. September 6th, 2022 in the sum of $211,104.79, and September 13th, 2022, in the sum of $98,440.26. We have a payroll manifest of August 18th, 2022, in the sum of $61,278.63. August 25th, 2022, in the sum of $61,959.22. September 1st of 2022 in the sum of $61,370.64. September 8th, 2022 in the sum of $61,121.15. And September 15th, 2022 in the sum of $57,296.13. We have the July 2022 Treasurer Reconciliation, the August 2022 Bank Cash Reconciliation, the August 2022 Tax Collector Reconciliation, the August 2022 Town Clerk Reconciliation. We have purchase orders M22-24 CMA Engineers in the sum of $25,000, which is the Litchfield Land Feasibility Study Grant Reimbursement. We have purchase order M22-27, which is the Tax Exempt Leasing Corp. In the sum of $28,564.06. which is the plow truck lease number 5. We have purchase order M22-29, Larry Painting, in the sum of $20,000, which is for the Old Town Hall painting. We have a junkyard permit license renewal for Warren Adams on 507 Charles Bancroft Highway. We have the New Hampshire DRA MS1 form, which is the assessed values for tax rate setting. We have the NRPC Transportation Technical Advisory Representative Physical 2023-2024. We have an application for domestic demonstration permit, which is a senior project walk fundraiser. And we have the elderly exemptions approved. Are there any items members would like to remove from consent?
Just a question for Karen. You have the $20,000 for the Old Town Hall painting. Shouldn't that read 5,000?
No, it's a remainder of what's owed for the painting. So it's a whole amount that's
There's
remaining.
not that much owed.
Well, that's what was allocated for it, so.
The total of the warrant that passed?
And what we, yes.
Okay.
So we already spent some of it,
Yep.
and so it was just for the
Yeah,
difference.
okay. Just so people don't think I'm getting 20,000
Yeah,
extra.
no, it was just the difference.
So what are you getting, Mr. Leary?
$5,000.
So do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second.
second by Ms. Queenan. All those in favor? Mr. Leary,
Abstain, since I'm on it.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 301.
Mr. Lynch is trying to get in. Are we remote tonight, John? No. There's no remote tonight? It wasn't requested. Do we want him to call in?
If you'd like to call in, Ken, we can put him on speaker.
Yeah, do we have the number?
You probably best call it him.
Yes, that's a good idea. We should call him. Yeah.
Okay, put him on.
Yeah, what number you want me to call him?
I'll tell you in a
Do you want to
minute.
say it out loud? Is it just his mobile?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
Dial 9 first.
Yep. Thanks, John.
always has to make it difficult.
He certainly does.
494, 9064.
All right, Kevin, we have you on the phone in the conference room since we do not have WebEx this evening.
Okay, good. I got you on YouTube, and I can still talk, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Turn the volume down.
Yeah, definitely turn the volume down. Not on your phone, on the TV. Or your computer, but I'm sure it's the TV.
In my house?
Yes, in your house, not the one here.
No, go to my house and turn my volume down, please.
Hold on.
All right, do we have a motion to allow Selectman Lynch to participate remotely?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Do we have any other business this evening that members would like to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I think this could be an omission, but weren't you going to talk about our meeting that I wasn't able to go to?
Yeah, I was gonna do that during the Selectmen reports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
Oh, 10, Hudson, okay.
Yeah, the one with about the
Mhm,
water.
okay.
Okay, hearing no other business, public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 PM. The first item of business is the approval of the August 8th, 2022 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Seems like forever ago.
Definitely.
Motion to approve.
You have one?
I have one change. If Matt's watching, it's section F, item 4, the 10-year transportation project proposals. I was giving a list of everybody I was thanking. If you can go to the third line, it says Select Board, the Planning Board, and can you please add the School Board and between Planning Board and Steve Gannon for their help with filing that report.
Okay.
So just please add School Board between the Planning Board and Steve Gannon. Thank you.
So we have a motion to approve with the noted change.
So moved.
Give it to Rich.
Motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I will abstain. Motion carry, oh, Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0-1. Next item of business is Alan Sandler, Library Trustee, term expires March 14th, 2023. Ms. White?
Yeah, the library got in touch with me, and they asked that the library trustees have requested that the Board of Selectmen appoint Mr. Sandler as a library trustee. He is already an alternate member, but the library trustees have asked that he be moved into their vacant position.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Leary,
Second?
second by Ms. Queenan. All those in favor? Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Next item, we have Marion Colby, CIP Committee, term expires March 31st, 2025. Ms. White?
Yes, thank you. The Capital Improvement Planning Committee has requested that the Board of Selectmen appoint Ms. Colby as a citizen representative of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
I believe Ms. Colby's here. Yes. You want to come and sit, please?
Full disclosure, I will abstain from voting on this. She is my cousin. How are you, cuz?
Fine, thank you.
Good evening and welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Does anybody have any comments or questions or anything of Ms. Colby?
I think you're a newcomer in town.
Well, I had a hiatus where I lived and worked in Philadelphia for many years, but I always had maintained a residence here in the town.
I know.
Yeah, our family has.
I was trying to be
I
facetious.
got that. 100 years this year for my family, yeah.
106?
Which is sort of newcomers in the town, compared to other branches of the family, yes.
Well, thank you for offering to assist the CIP. It's a valuable committee within the town. And you were part of the process of bringing Marion before us?
Yes, I told her there was an opening. We had 2 openings, but the other person did not appear.
Okay.
Do you want to tell them your background?
My position for the last 15 or more years with the city of Philadelphia was that of occupational safety administrator, and part of that position was handling the capital budget for a large municipal department, the Office of Fleet Management, which purchased and repaired all of the vehicles for our 10,000 vehicle fleet in the city of Philadelphia. It included running 16 automotive maintenance shops that repaired everything from tractors to fire trucks to ambulances, many trash trucks, etc. I ran all the safety programs, but I also did all the things to do with building maintenance, you know, roofing, floors, overhead doors, vehicle exhaust systems. I was also in charge of 64 fuel sites for the city, and I was the liaison between the EPA and the PADEP for compliance with all of the rules and regulations for underground storage tanks, and handled many installs and tank pulls in that period of time. So I understand the need for capital projects. I understand the need for fiscal responsibility in handling the capital projects, and so I think that I would bring some valuable expertise to the position.
Wow, it's a fantastic background. I think it's really good for the capital improvement.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the board?
I make a motion, we approve Marion Colby for the CIP committee.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
Second?
second by Ms. Queenan. All those in favor, Mr. Larry,
Abstain?
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 401. Thank you.
All right,
And we
thank you.
appreciate you giving back to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marion.
Have a good night.
Next meeting's Thursday, this Thursday.
Jump right in.
I need to get sworn in.
Oh, that's true.
So they'll sign tonight,
Yeah.
if you wanna stop by tomorrow. Oh,
Oh,
in the
Wednesday.
morning, I think there's, Laura will be
Voting,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or Wednesday, perfect.
Anytime before the meeting, even Thursday morning you could.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have John Brunel, a discussion of the replacement of 3 existing MFP copiers and entering into a new lease contract. Mr. Brunel,
Good evening.
welcome, and as always, it's good to have you.
The pressure before the meeting, right?
Correct, on those needed passwords.
Yeah. So this evening, I'm in front of you folks to talk about replacing 3 aging multifunctional copiers. I'll give you a little bit of history. We are in the last 5 months of an existing lease for 2 of the primary copiers. One is sitting in the town hall on this side, and the other side is on the police department. The third one was a purchase we bought outright used about 6-7 years ago. It's pretty much exceeded its life expectancy. All 3 copiers are at the edge of their support by the manufacturers, so getting parts for them when they fail are becoming a little bit of a challenge. The older one is definitely a challenge. We have to replace that no matter what we do at this point. And then the other 2, like I said, they're coming towards the end of the 5 years. But the manufacturer does not make that model anymore, nor do they stock some of the replacement parts. So we reached out to our vendor that we've been using for the last 10 years, and they came back with a program that will allow us to terminate the existing lease that we have, start a new lease for 5 years, and replace all 3 copiers with the latest versions, and so on and so forth. All 3 copies are heavily used. The way we pay for it, way the copiers are managed today, we do the lease payment, which is within my budget. You'll see the line in tonight when we talk about my budget. And there's also a consumables line that we also do, which is paper, ink, and different things. They'll come in and do their yearly maintenance and that kind of thing as part of the lease program. Today, we pay $365 a month for the existing 2 leases, no payment on the other one. This lease would be for 5 years at $540 a month.
For all three?
For all three, yeah, for all three. That will, again, replace them all, they'll all be the same generation, they'll all be alike from a usability perspective, anybody can walk up and use them there. The one with the fire department, sort of like, you gotta hit it, push a button this way, make it do it, and it'll work, but it'll get all three on the same program. They'll continue to be maintained by the same company, the one we've been doing for the last, like I said, 10 years or so. So, I guess what I'm asking from the board is if you're in agreement, to allow me to finish the negotiation with this company, get these leases terminated, and then start the program effectively probably next month at the newer rate. In my upcoming budget, the rate has been adjusted, assuming you agree, and if you didn't, we'll just lower it back down, but as far as the extra this year, we'll absorb it in this year's budget, on my budget side, it's a, cover a couple $100. So, that's it.
Okay. Any questions?
Who's the vendor?
So this Conway's the vendor we use and have been using. The printers that they're offering to us are Xerox brand.
And does the lease include all maintenance?
Yeah, it includes all the yearly, the PMs, but the consumables will pay for things like toner and paper. Again, that's what we're doing today.
These are laser copiers?
These are laser copiers, yes. Yeah, when I say multifunction, there's scanners, they're printers, they're copiers, plus they're also fax machines. Believe it or not, we use faxing a lot, especially in the police department and fire department. The one over the fire department doesn't work 90% of the time because the fax machine is beyond its life. So,
They do black and white and color, I'm assuming.
these will do all of them, right? We only have one large one, which is the old fire station one. We're bringing color into these two here. We'll restrict it because it costs us more in the
Yeah,
consumables.
definitely.
We'll restrict it based on that, just like we do in the fire department. But yeah.
You know our cost per copy?
Cost per
Same here.
copy is, it's .005 for black and white, and then .05, 05 for color, yeah. That's the same rate we pay now.
.005.
Yeah, so what is
So
it?
that's a half a cent per copy.
Not even half, it's,
Open up the proposal.
yeah, half a cent. It's half a cent for color and a half a cent, it's less than half a cent, right? What's .005?
You fancy guys.
Well,
Pretty good.
$0.005 would be half a cent.
It's a cent, yeah, so half a cent.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the rate we pay now today too. So that hasn't changed, it's just the additional third machine on the lease is what's caused it, will increase the lease payment.
And the increase seems pretty linear based off the two we have now.
It is when you factor color into it, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Conways used to live in Litchfield.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Jim Conway, is he still involved?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You remember?
Remember Joe Conway?
They, oh well,
He used to coach baseball.
played tennis. I played tennis with Jim Conway.
Did you? Nice. I think it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Something we use, we need, so.
I have no problem with it.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it, to go to Conway to lease them for $540 a month.
We have a motion by Ms. Queenan,
Second.
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye?
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch. I am also an aye, motion carries 5-0-0. Thanks, John, greatly
Can my
appreciate it.
budget discussion be easy too?
It can, of course, as long as it goes down. Well, we'll let you go up by $184. Next, we have Kevin Brown, proposed use of a special one-time highway payment. Mr. Brown,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
as always, good to see you too.
All right. So, I'd like to propose do some more paving. As you know from the paperwork that we got a one-time, special block grant disbursement from the state, for, put it here somewhere, $173,235. I'd like to add in block grant, the first block grant we got for the year, we still have 14,801 left over from that block grant. And I got a little dyslexic on my other lines. It's 14,540 in my catch basement repair money. And then I'd like to use $6,000 out of the maintenance improvement line of my budget to bring us up to $208,576. Like to pave, this is part of the CIP, what we went to the CIP with, there's a few roads here. Like to pave Pinecrest from Albuquerque down to where we paved last year by the cemetery. Martin Lane, that's a shim overlay that has curb and catch basins. And in Finch Court, which we've been kind of pushing off for a few years because of the size of the road. I brought my CIP paving out a couple more years. If you look at the next couple pages, and then depending upon if this is approved, I can project out 2 more years and get us back into that 6-year projection. The next 2 years, I'm projecting $400,000. Basically what we've been doing, but this is a nice little sum of money to kind of get us to speed us up a little bit. I went out with Ed Small from Continental, and we looked at a whole bunch of roads, and he priced them all out for us. And I believe that these are the 3 roads that we need to hit, and they're on the same area, kind of finish off an area before we move on. So I'm looking for your approval to spend this money.
So you know where we can find a good paver?
Yeah, there's one we have in mind. Takes care of us really well.
I think he's sitting very quietly in the back.
Back left-hand corner.
It's the people with the hubcaps.
Orange trucks, you know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the state grant money must be used for this, correct?
It can't be, and it can't take place of the budget, has to be above our budget. So we can't take this money and say we're gonna not have any money in our budget next year and use this for this. It has to be used above and beyond. Karen and I went through this with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that that's the case.
And for the edification of the public, this money cannot be turned back to the taxpayer.
Can't be turned back, can't be used for anything else. It's 100% for road maintenance. And it can't be, used to offset taxes or used in lieu of budget.
No new trucks or,
And not with this one. We may be coming back to you in a little while for something else, but not with this one.
how did I know that?
You just
Well-
bought a truck.
They keep, something. They keep giving us money. We keep taking it, right?
Maybe Marion could help you out with the maintenance. a little
I'm okay with that. The more help, the better.
There you go.
So Kevin, these were all part of the capital improvement plan?
Martin Lane wasn't, just because we hadn't put that on there because it was very extensive. And this is a good situation for us to get into it because there is some curbing and there is some drainage issues. So that's why I can use my catch basin line for that, because there is some catch basin and some berming that needs to be done. But Pinecrest, one of our busiest roads, if we get Pinecrest done, that gives us Page, Pinecrest. We don't do Hillcrest. Corning's good. So we're getting into our major roads. And if you look at the CIP plan that I put forth, Century Pearson would be next. So we're really trying to hit our main roads, and get a few of the small ones in between. But that's my goal, is to kind of get Pinecrest back up to speed, and we'll be in good shape.
Okay. I think it's good use of the funds.
I move we approve the use of special one-time highway funds.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle's.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Larry. All those in favor, Mr. Larry?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Now, I have a question, because I am gonna be using money from other lines that exceed my ability to spend. Do we need a motion for those also? Or is that? We're using almost $15,000 out of one account for catch basin repair, and that's above my, my spending ability.
So we'd have to
I need
waive
your
the
approval for
purchasing
that.
policy on that, and then allow Karen to sign. Well, it'd come to me to sign too, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
just need to waive
Karen.
the purchasing policy for it, because that would say you have to go out for 3 competitive bids.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Larry.
I didn't understand it. Could you repeat that?
So within my budget, I can only spend up to a certain amount without having the town administrator authorize it, and if it gets beyond his ability, it comes to you guys. So I'm proposing to use almost $15,000 out of my catch basin line, and when we go above, was it $10,000? $9,999.
Yep.
We need an approval, right?
I think it's 12,000 for a purchase order.
Is it, all right.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the purchasing policy, Rich, there's different one's the department head, next one is the town administrator. Then after that, I believe it's competitive bid. So
does
the
that
Board
mean?
of Selectmen can waive the competitive bid if they choose.
You should waive the competitive, I mean,
Correct.
yeah, because no
Yes.
one else is
That's what we
gonna
do,
bid it
waiving the
anyway,
purchasing policy. So we had a motion by Mr. Larry,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. Any further discussion? Mr. Larry,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right,
Keep up the good work.
thanks.
Next, we have Jason Brennan, Moores Falls Trees. Jason, welcome.
Good evening.
Always good to have you too.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. See if this works.
Nice thing about Jason, he always brings props.
He does.
So, here to talk tonight about the tree situation that I advised you to last week. So the short story is that 20 trees, we're looking at Moores Falls right here, so if you orient yourself, you can see the parking lot. But a year or two ago, 20 trees were donated and installed at Moores Falls by a generous local company. After those trees were put in, National Grid requested that the trees directly under certain power lines be moved. So in 2022, earlier this year, 8 to 10 of those trees were moved over toward the transfer station. I think 8 exist there now, and a few of them died off. So of the 20 original trees, those 8 currently remain right now. They made us remove the other ones. There's another view of how they are.
Yep.
So we talked to National Grid about this, and Troy Brown and I have been after them for about 6 months, seeing if they could actually replace the trees, and they came back to us and said, we'll replace every single tree that you guys pulled out, essentially in kind or equivalent. So we gotta figure out where to put them. And taking an initial look, National Grid does not want us to put them underneath any trees underneath those power lines. And really the only spot, we have about 12 trees that we can actually plant. The only spots at Morris Falls where we could fit them are essentially behind the parking lot. And I think we could probably only put like 4 or 6 there. So we've got 6 or 8 trees that we can put somewhere else. So in thinking about it, I think there's a few spots where we could put these things. One option is maybe running a line of trees down Albuquerque, directly across from Hidden Creek, to match the current trees that they have there right now, and we'd put the same ones. We talked to them about putting the exact same species in there. There's a big grass strip there that's 20 to 30 feet wide, and they probably fit nice in there. So that's where we'd be talking, and maybe about 8 trees in there, 50 feet apart. A little Photoshop skills might look something like that. And that's currently what it looks like right now. So the bottom line is I'm here tonight to ask the board what you guys think about either putting trees here. The only other location where we could really, off the top of my head, I don't know, Kevin Brown's here, he might have a couple ideas, that we could potentially put them would be at the transfer station.
I mean, what about the transfer
We need to
station?
act fast, because they want to plant soon.
Yeah. So just thinking of the transfer station, I mean, where would we put them? We already have that road that's there now. You know, the biggest thing is removing that line of sight when they're having a ceremony. I don't know if you want to call it a ceremony, but a planting's not a good way, a burial.
Existing trees, right?
There, I mean, you can sit from there and look out, and I never understood what the to-do was until I was there one day, and they were having a funeral for somebody, and you're standing at the dump, and you can see exactly what's going on, so a buffer there would be really good.
The owner of the property over here is happy? Doesn't matter. I
It's
saw
within
it
the
was-
right of way.
And I saw the electricity's underground, right? I saw the box. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure, like it's across the street.
We,
Right, yeah, I saw it under the ground.
There's a box up there at the end.
Yeah, I just wanted to point it out.
and then the other input would probably be from Mr. Brown, because he's got a mower around him. So,
Wherever you put them at the more.
that's true.
How big do they get?
I asked the guys there today, they didn't get back to me yet, but I'm assuming they're 2.5 inch caliber trees, like the ones that you would go down to a nursery and get for probably $350. I don't think we're talking about the Walmart,
Yeah.
1 inch specials.
I think you were asking how tall do they get?
How tall, I don't know what kind of
Oh.
tree it is it? I don't know. What kind of
We'd have to work with them on the type of tree, but the tree next door is what I believe is what they call a linden tree, which is, a good tree for street trees.
For what trees?
Linden, little leaf linden, I think that is.
Now, are these, I was always confused about the trees that were under the power lines. They didn't seem to be buried, they were just sitting on top of the ground.
They were buried,
They were?
yeah,
Okay.
fully buried, and there's a bag there that water went
Water
in
goes
to
in.
keep them
Okay.
watered.
Okay,
Yeah, so the burlap sack you think that's not buried is actually containing water.
okay. All right. Any news on that white fence that's gonna be taken down?
Oh, the horse farm?
Yeah.
That's Chairman Steve's department.
Okay,
Troy was going to reach out, I don't know if he did or not, to try to at least save all the rails for us, talk to the developer. Cause I don't think we're gonna be able to still, have the poles, but if we can do the rails, it could help with beautification.
why couldn't we have the poles?
Might be tough if they're cemented in.
Are they cemented in?
We don't know, I mean, I'm assuming they must be, they were keeping horses back, they're not cemented, you don't think, Rick? So if they're not, you probably could get all of them instead of just bulldozing them.
I mean, there's nothing, those things are virtually new, right? And that would look real good right along there,
There's already one there. There's already
Yeah.
a
Oh, there is already.
Some
vinyl
there, yeah.
fence there.
Oh, geez.
But,
I'm
for other
really missing
projects
that.
Jay comes up with, it's always good to have white fence.
As long as it's not stored in my yard.
Kevin will find space.
So I think there are two options unless anybody else has any other ideas. Either run them along here or run them along the road toward the transfer station. And if you don't want to decide now, we can probably table it, come back at your next meeting and
I think they look nice going, across the street from the ones in Albuquerque.
Yeah. I'd go with that.
Sounds good to me.
Are we gonna see more dead
we are
squirrels?
going to get, National Grid is going to supply the trees and plant them.
Perfect.
Good.
It's not a we, no?
Even
But it would've made you push for an auger, right, for the new tractor? Thanks, Jay, appreciate all the efforts.
Okay. What are we at?
All right, seeing that it is 7:04, we'll open up for public input. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forth and provide input?
My name's Rick Charbonneau, 401 Charles Bancroft Highway.
Good evening.
Hi. Kim has told me that we're coming up with a plan for when there's complaints and how we're gonna handle that, but, which is great. But what about the equipment to be able to monitor it, like lighting and sound? We talked about that, and I said I'd donate it if you guys didn't have it in your budget, I'll pay for it. You pick out what you want and I'll pay for it. I just wanna make sure we have it so that when it comes, which it's coming soon, we need to know that somebody that's gonna go out can actually test it, because nobody can say I heard it or I seen it or whatever. They need to have the equipment to test, so.
A decibel measuring
Yeah,
device.
decibels, lighting.
Yeah,
um,
lumen
things.
counter.
Yeah. So,
Is that gonna be our police department? Think it's gonna have that equipment, decibel equipment?
somebody has to have it.
Somebody has to have it, yeah, I mean,
Who's
who's gonna
ever-
go out there
Who's
and
gonna
actually?
use it, you know?
Yeah,
with the
I mean, it's not hard to use, you turn it on, hold it up, and,
yeah. The lighting's a little bit different, because one of it's at the property line, the other one's on site, is what can be on the site. And it's gonna happen, so. That's all. So, it's really the only reason why I'm here.
okay. Do you know where we were in that whole process when you were pulling it together and?
Yeah, John's here. We have a prototype working. We're reaching out to department heads to update it. I don't know if John wants me to show it live or not. It's up to John if he would like me to or not. May as well, we can have our meeting right now. I would need that cord.
A cord?
Let me just find my email that he sent it
This
out.
cord?
Jason's cord, yeah?
Because right now we defaulted to live.
Only one who
I'll
uses
show
it,
you.
right?
Just give me a minute, I'll call it up.
Thanks, Rick.
Let me just go to, good, then I don't have to have your meeting.
But one's having the systems, the other having the equipment, actually.
Right, but I would
Yeah.
like him to see it while he's here, because trying to pull the department heads together is tough with this week with voting, and everybody's schedule's just crazy. All right, just give me a moment to find that, and John did a wonderful job on this.
Does anybody know what the source of the fireworks is? Seems to be every night.
I don't know. I hate
Does
fireworks.
anybody know what I'm talking about?
I haven't heard any.
Excuse me, I was sent down by the library, Alan Sandler, alternate library trustee.
Yeah.
Does he need to be sworn in?
Yes, you have to meet with the town clerk, right? When-
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think they're here, though.
No, they're not here.
Only during business
They
hours.
directed me down here,
Yeah,
and they said to talk to you folks.
yeah, no, so you'd have to either do it
You've already
tomorrow
approved
morning,
I had to find the email.
though I think Terry will be at voting, so
Okay.
I'm thinking
Yep.
Wednesday's probably the best.
So that the,
But,
the positive part is we approved you to be a full-time member, so thank you.
yes,
Yep.
yes.
My pleasure.
You just need to get sworn in by the town clerk.
Okay, so I'll touch base with her as soon as
Yes,
possible.
we'll give her
I
the
guess,
form
wait a
and
minute,
she'll have it
if he
tomorrow.
was sworn in as an alternate, does he have to get sworn in again?
I think so.
Vicky's email said that Terry suggested
I
that
think
you
so.
guys
Okay.
have to approve him as a
The
voting.
catcher,
Yeah.
yep. And thank you.
You too, thank you, be well.
Where do I put this in?
In your HDMI port?
And which one?
It's on
In the
that,
back? This is where I put my, must be in the back.
probably on the side.
Here you go, over here maybe. Because we used to have the one over here, so. Ooh, you got it?
There you are.
All right. Are you okay with this, John? Showing it? Oh, okay.
It's gonna change a little bit, but.
Oh, yeah. So we're not calling it a complaint form, because some people do call to inquire and want to report as well, okay? So it's gonna be driven by the first two inputs on the screen. So you will come here, and you will pick which department that you want to make a complaint or a report request from. Do you have a specific one you want me to, why don't we do police department maybe, or do you want to do highway? Do you care which one?
It doesn't matter.
All right, why don't we do highway department?
You do either one, they're both here.
Yeah, pretty much, so I'll show him. So then you're gonna have a drop-down menu to type of issue that it is, okay? So based on the department, they will have a subset of issues, okay? That make sense? So right now, the department heads are going through each one, so highway department will go through their second tier here, because right now we have them all the same at the moment until they go through and finish it. So if we just happen to pick animal issue, what is the next question? Is it an urgent nature? I'll say no. Please enter some details. I had a few going to your database when I was testing. You saw them, okay? I was testing different scenarios, okay? So testing, I'm just gonna say highway, animal, unfortunately, happened, right? You can attach right here a photo. So if you are seeing something, take a picture with your phone, and you can upload it. You can use this on a computer to compile, make a complaint, or you can also use this application on your phone. You'll just go to the town website and be able to do that, okay? I did upload a picture of an orange cat. I won't do it here, but basically you would just choose a file and, off your laptop or your phone and send it. Does that make sense? It will go with the complaint, okay? Or you can send multiple, all right? We are asking you to put in your name. I will just put in mine. We know some people will write Joe Public, but we have to have something in the database, okay?
Yeah.
An email would be nice because, I don't want my school email address. Let's go here. Yeah, really, let's do this one. And you all see my phone number, great. So when I hit submit, you're gonna fill in whatever you want here, please, whatever, and hit submit, and it's going to go to my email. And let me get my email account, if I can find it, I was just in it. All right, I should see a new email pop up, so you have proof that it came through, right here. So what'll happen is, based on the first two things you put in, highway and the thing, it'll automatically, there's a table there to what department head to send it to, and they will get the complaint and deal with it like they do today.
Okay.
So planning board or,
So when we have a noise problem on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
who do we contact?
well, I did meet with our police admin. Today, you have to call it in, right, and they will deal with it as they normally do. If they're on site with an event, they will come over and look at it, right? But if it's at night that they're not there, they would do their normal complaint and they will handle it on the next day. This, department heads usually check their emails anyway, so,
So how do we deal with a band playing? Because you file a complaint, and if they go and do it that night or whatever, then nobody goes and looks at it, then the band's gone.
Yep.
Whatever happens.
Yeah, that's been our struggle, is the off-hour
That's,
events.
my problem is the off-hour stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So when someone's here, or whatever, the zoning administrator or whatever, he's here, it's not a big deal. But those things never happen between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock at night.
but at least you'll have proof now, and then they can probably go after somebody. But you're saying right now you'd have to call the police with a noise ordinance, right? I'm not sure what their standard procedure is, I'll have you address that, but.
We have a lighting problem, so if the police so that's why we have to have the equipment.
Equipment
so
in
they-
order to do it, so then we have metrics to go back to and say, all right, we were there and it was X amount of dBs coming off the property line.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you upload a video as well? Yes. Yeah, okay, so you could actually take a meter or a device.
Yeah, you can
where
upload
you
any
wanna take a
document.
video of it showing the decibel levels
Mhm.
of.
Right.
Noise level, whatever, and submit it so then he has true evidence.
We have proof, yeah. Now, you're right,
Another
it's
tech
Friday
bench
night,
item.
when do they come out? Do they come out instantly, or do you wait till Monday morning? It's really
But
the
the
issue.
problem is, even with decibels, okay, so I have a decibel meter, then, because I took I'm just going by past experience, when I take a picture of that decibel meter, that doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody. It's gotta be an official to take the test, okay? I mean,
Unless you're at like some kind of permanent road, like a road sign or a marker where you could actually kind of give them. I'm just trying to think out loud where, if you don't have anybody available that night, the next day when they get it, they can say, yeah, he was standing at the corner of the field, here's the sign, and the decibel meter's reading, 80 decibels or whatever it may, whatever.
Most photographs contain location.
They do, yep, they do.
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, it really comes down to the only one that could have forced it for us on off hours would be the police department.
It is
To
the
have
police
the
department.
equipment to actually go do it.
Right.
So that's where it'd have to end up.
But even if this goes live, it's gonna go to the police department. I'm not sure how they're gonna handle it internally.
Correct.
that's.
So
the
it almost
problem.
seems like a call, I
So
don't know.
if fireworks are blowing off, I mean, they're not supposed to be. That's because, my problem is what we have approved on a site plan and what's being done, okay? And there's things that are being done that aren't approved on a site plan. So how do we get to that? And when I'm at the planning board says, come the selectmen.
But now you'll have proof. You'll have an email come back to you. It'll go to the right department head. At least they can start addressing
Okay,
this.
so I have to take a picture of the fireworks, I guess, and.
Yeah,
it wasn't
use your
there.
phone, go like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I guess then it comes back to the equipment, are we gonna get the equipment, I'll donate to buy it, I don't care, but someone's gotta pick what equipment they want. I don't wanna pick the equipment, I'd rather whoever's gonna use it, pick the equipment. If you want me to pay for it, I'll pay for it.
Does that fall into IT? Yeah.
IT or police, or a combination?
Too.
It could,
Yeah.
maintain it, but it's, who's gonna use it in the police department?
Police department, that's what I would think too.
Or enforcement.
I was thinking from, actually selecting the equipment, does it fall into IT, or is it something?
We can make a recommendation on what it would be, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's code enforcement more than the police department, to be honest with you.
it is, but I mean,
Because it's a site plan.
yeah, but it's gonna be tough to get the code enforcement officer out there at 12 o'clock on a Saturday night.
I agree.
Yeah, you're more
But
apt
there
to
will be a
have the
policeman on
on-duty
duty.
police and actually be there at the time too, so if the
Yeah.
police have, and the crews of the equipment, it makes it very easy to use.
We're certainly not the first municipality that has crossed this bridge. And since we have this function within our boundary here, I would think that with the proper equipment, that we need to make a provision for some sort of a part-time code enforcement presence anytime there's anything going on. So, I don't know exactly how that would feather out, but we obviously have this function, and if we, with the right equipment, and if we hire somebody, maybe we pay them $20 an hour, or whatever.
I think it should be proactive, so that if you have the equipment, when they open up, someone goes there with a light meter and says, when it's dark out,
Yep.
you're either in or you're out. I mean, then no one's, it's proactive. I mean, why not just be proactive?
Yep.
And make it clear that, and that person, the zoning administrator, make it clear with them, this is what you can do and what you can't do. And then nobody's upset. No one has to file a complaint, no one has to do anything.
Yeah, we could have Mr. Blackwell go out there when things first happened and so forth, but.
The first night they
Yep.
lit up the lights.
And I think whatever we come up with, whatever plan we come up with, has to have teeth in it, so that everybody understands. I think we've gotten a point across in years past, that they have to live by the plan. But if they're not living by the plan, then we have to have provisions in place to nip it in the bud, one way or the other. And if it takes a part-time code enforcement presence with appropriate meteorology, let's do it.
I believe Mr. Brennan had some input for us.
When I lived 20 years ago, when I lived in Manchester, they were doing noise studies for the airport mitigation. And they actually set up permanent monitors at certain locations to record the decibel level 24 hours a day. And then they source that information to figure out if the decibel level of the airplanes was above a certain amount. If it was, you got windows and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
I could see here, you could potentially put decibel meters at certain locations that are just like constantly recording it, and then go back after on Monday just to see, are they peaking out above this certain decibel level? If they are, figure out how you dial that back.
And they probably have light meters to do the same thing.
I don't know,
We just need somebody to look into the equipment.
Okay.
I mean, I can bring it all forward, but I don't want it to be from me.
So this
Mr.
was,
Brunel, is that something you can look at for us?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I think the remote monitoring is probably the better way to do it.
Yep.
And John's the right guy to do
Perfect.
that. He's,
And then if you find some equipment that works and we get the value of it, I'll donate the money,
Greatly appreciate that.
okay?
before you go, just so you know, this was designed for the site plan, making sure it stays compliant, but it was also designed because we always get calls and emails ourselves.
Yeah.
And we always end up talking to them one-on-one or handling it, and we're all handling it different ways, so this was one way to get it to the department.
Yep.
Who's supposed to, so it's.
Yep.
No,
yeah,
I
so
think
we
it's
have
all
your
good.
scenario.
I think
But
it's all
we,
good,
so-
but a residential complaint is different than a commercial complaint,
Yep.
that's all.
So the QR codes that are going on the signage that Conservation and Rec, is this feeding into the same system? It is? Good.
Those are live now. So we have
Yes,
QR codes.
I've seen a lot of the
at
tests.
The parks and the recreation, or the conservation areas, and if they see an issue, they can just scan it with their phone, pops up that form, it sends everybody an email if there's a tree down or something funny going on.
Now, I noticed this is called a problem reporting form. What if I want to congratulate Kevin on his great plowing?
We could, but that's the table entries, you can add one that says, you know, that you're making a comment,
On the back
right?
of every mailbox.
It doesn't have to be a complaint, we'll come up with a better name, but it's a complaint, or you're gonna have an inquiry, or maybe you just wanna send a kudos or something. They're using the software right now for conservation. I think the highway department's using you're using it too, right? Isn't highway using something?
Rec is.
Rec is using it, okay. So the software's already paid for, and we're just gonna piggyback on this, and, so it's all table-driven, no coding changes. Whoever we say those two prompts fit in, an email gets sent to them automatically.
Okay. Speaking of this equipment, I mean, we're all thinking of the commercial property, but what if we have neighbors that are concerned at Dara Pond? Or with Campbell Football or something?
All the same.
I know that lighting is always an issue when it comes to certain things. Of course, we don't have permanent lights, but, you know, the homecoming and so forth. But,
We've had sound complaints at Dara Pond.
you have what?
Sound complaints.
Sure.
At Dara Pond
Sure.
after hours. And
Yep,
Sure.
from the basketball courts and.
So, but you don't see a need for this type of
No, I
equipment?
think it would be good because it's, once again, the same situation he's in. By the time we get notified and we get down there, it's gone.
Yeah.
So we have nothing to judge it on. We have no reference point.
So maybe we need a combination of permanently installed plus portable. Some sort of a solution that includes both, because we certainly don't need, I wouldn't think we'd need something at Dara Pond in the middle of winter, you know.
So, but we need this disclaimer that if it's an emergency, call the fire department or police department, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right there.
And I believe that was added to the signage at Conservation and Rec.
Last
So,
thing,
that's where we're at, we just have to talk to each department head here and have them decide what they want in the second prompt here. Right now, we have the same thing for everybody.
okay.
So I'll be hitting them
All
all
right,
up.
no, that's really good, that's good. One last thing, out back here, sometime late this fall or whatever, do you wanna mow it again, or do you guys wanna leave it the way it is? I'll mow it like while I have you all together.
I think it looks good mode.
Yeah,
Okay.
If you could do that,
would
that'd be
agree.
wonderful.
Yeah, I'll do it.
we
Okay,
appreciate that, Rick.
okay.
Do you have any idea about the fireworks? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's every night recently. And at first I just thought it was, you know, somebody had their calendars mixed up, but.
No, it's just, there's a lot of it, but
They have been, yeah.
I mean, it's,
some of it's in Merrimack,
Yeah,
you know, some of it's in Merrimack and it's across the river, but when they're blowing off cannons locally and stuff like that, it just shouldn't be happening, that's all.
but I mean, it sounds as if it lasts like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of powder.
But a lot of it is coming from Merrimack.
Is that true, Mr. Brennan?
I don't know, but.
When are we gonna get that island?
Thank you, Rick, appreciate it.
thank you, sir.
So you all saw it early, this was supposed to be, you know, after, just see if you guys approved.
Yep.
with
That was
this.
good.
No, I
Great
like
with the
that.
chance to do it.
We'll just work on the data, 2 entries, and
Yeah.
then
Move forward.
go with it. So we'll let the
Have no
department
problem
heads
with it
pick
at
what
all.
they want.
Have no problem with that at all.
Okay,
Do we have anybody else who would like to provide public input this evening?
am I pulling this out? You're all set?
Yep.
Okay. Oof, that's in tight.
Okay, hearing none, we will close public input at 7:23 and move forward. Next, we have Police Department grant body worn cameras. Ms. White.
Warning, sorry, my battery's dying. Mr. French here, is going to, explain. The police department is asking permission to apply for a grant to, implement a body-worn camera program.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Kevin,
Thank you.
close the refrigerator.
I think he went to the bathroom.
So, thank you again. In response to a number of different things that have occurred across the country, the governor established a law enforcement accountability and transparency commission. They met over a period of a year and a half. Part of one of their recommendations involved body-worn cameras for law enforcement officers. It's a recommendation at this particular point. They are expensive, but the state has stepped up and provided the opportunity for police departments, local and county, to apply for a matching grant, reimbursable, of up to $50,000 for a body-worn camera program. We looked at the parameters. We met with IT. We selected a product that would match the product that we already have as the dashboard cameras. IT has upgraded a number of their infrastructure to address the storage issues. So after doing all of that research, we made a decision to move forward, but found that we had missed the initial deadline. So the provisions of the grant do involve you can apply after the deadline, and if there is funds still available, you would be considered. So we are asking for permission to apply for that grant and ask for the chairman's signature based on the fact that we missed the deadline, but we want to get in the queue so that if there are excess funds or another round becomes available, we'd like to be in a position to move forward. The budget that we've put together will probably have to be trimmed a little bit to meet the $50,000 threshold, but we believe that we can in fact do that. So the cost to the town, if we are in fact awarded the grant and move forward, would be a match of $25,000.
Okay. Where will you find the 50,000?
That will be in the operating budget, and there is some additional funds remaining from the most recent cruiser purchase for additional equipment.
Now, this fund would equip how many officers, how many cameras?
We budgeted for 20, but we have 17 personnel, so you would equip them all full-time officers and the 3 part-time officers that were allocated would all be equipped with their own individual camera. And then you have docking stations and things of that nature inside the building, but everyone would have their own individual unit.
Would there be any ongoing costs involved?
There is a maintenance provision, but that's covered in the initial outlay of the budget.
But at what time would that run out?
The 5-year mark.
Oh, so it's 5 years. So we'd have virtually no additional expense for 5 years.
We shouldn't have any significant additional costs for the initial time period.
Would the cameras that would be purchased from this be standard throughout the state?
I can't answer that specifically other than to say there are 2 or 3 vendors out there that are offering different product, and we did our due diligence research as it relates to this product integrating with our existing infrastructure. Spoke to a number of different agencies about the the durability, and the storage capabilities, and that's why we landed on this one.
Somewhat a different issue, but we have continuing reports of people not observing traffic laws, particularly on Albuquerque, particularly at intersections, and sometimes in hordes of more than 100 together acting as a group. Is there a product out there that would help us with that regard?
I don't know at this point.
Does everybody
You
understand?
were talking about like an intersection camera or something.
Yes.
They do have them.
They do
Oh,
have those.
Yeah, they have those.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would address that specific.
I think we've gotten to the point here in town where we have, I haven't experienced it, but others have, where people are blowing through four-way intersections, particularly on Albuquerque. And we need to, I'm a big proponent of broken windows. We need to nip it in the bud. And whenever I hear reports of hundreds of people on motorcycles running up and down, doing wheelies up and down the bike path and all over, I have a problem with that. And everybody says, oh, it's so cute, it's so cute. No, it's not cute. It won't be so cute when one of those people runs over a kid. And if we ignore that, then by default, we become responsible, in my mind. So we need to get the word out, and we need to nip it in the bud. In both these cases, people blowing through four-way intersections and also totally ignoring the law. All right, I saw a video on the What's Up page of a motorcycle parked in the middle of 3A so that all the other motorcycles could pass in front without traffic getting through. All right, well, to me, that's not kosher, and we can't just let it happen. So we need to have a way to enforce that. I know we can't have police, constantly, but I have a real problem with people just breaking the law and thinking it's cute. I've said my piece here.
We can look into that.
I wish you would, and come back with a solution for us. I mean, we don't have that many intersections in town, all right? And we've talked before, we could put a traffic camera at every single entrance to Litchfield, all right? And it would be like 12 or 14, all right? I mean, we've got the best security in the world, all right? If we can read a license plate, then there's no sense in the world for us to have to live with people who are ignoring the law.
On the plan, oh, go ahead, sorry, let him go. Is he all set? On the planning board, we sort of looked at cameras at intersections. At the time, which wasn't that long ago, it could have changed. You could not send them a ticket in New Hampshire. You could, they can do it at the toll, on the highway, but I don't think New Hampshire at the time said you could take a picture of somebody violating it and send them a fine. But it doesn't mean you can't still have a camera if you want to have a chat or something, right? I don't know the rules about that, so.
Well, there's a lot of civil libertarians in New Hampshire, and I respect that. But there are things that can be done.
Yeah, we can probably use a camera, but I just don't think you can fine them just by sending them a
No,
ticket
but at
of the
least going to
picture.
a house and having a
Oh,
discussion.
yeah, have a discussion, yeah.
You'll
We
do
can
it.
throw rotten eggs at their ground effects or something.
When do you actually wear body cameras? When you get a
times.
call or
All the
all
time.
the
All the
time?
time, you know.
All the
Even in
time.
the office you'd wear them?
Yep.
Just all the time?
All the time.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to go for the grant for the safety of our offices.
No, I agree, I just didn't know it'd be all the time. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that's perfect, thank you.
So what does everybody else think? It's a good opportunity to go and try to get the grant?
I'd say go for it.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would question is this something that needs to be talked to the union about?
The police union? Mr. French?
We've already had the beginnings of the discussions and
Or have you?
are continuing to have discussions. Part of the discussions we've been having are pointing them to some of the other departments that we've done research with and asked them to talk to their officers about what they think of them. And we're in the process of doing that.
So I mean, even if we apply for the grant and we get it, nothing says we have to go use it if we get pushback from the union. So I think your ask this evening is, can we just go and go after the grant?
Go and apply, at least get
Apply
on
and
the-
pursue it.
and get in the queue. Yes.
I have no problem with it.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move we do that.
Okay, motion by Mr. LaSalle's,
I love his motion, I'll second it.
second by Mr. Larry. All those in favor, Mr. Larry?
I,
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
I am also an aye, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you could come back with some solutions there for us, I'd appreciate it.
I'll talk to the staff on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Next, Tanager Way follow-up. Ms. White?
So we had received an email, back, I think it was the end of July, and in the midst of Troy on vacation and then leaving. So it didn't get on the agenda for, August 8th. So there, let's see if I can open up the email. So they were wondering what the follow-up, was to it. They're writing to follow up on the conversation that was held about bullets hitting the houses in Litchfield. Did you want me to read the whole thing?
no, I think
Sure.
we all read it.
That conversation with concerned neighbors ended with a plan to have a discussion with all parties involved and any.
I don't think it's necessary for
No.
you to read it. I mean,
Yeah,
we
we've
all
all,
read
we've
it.
all read it.
I do have an update on it.
Oh,
Oh, you do?
perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
The idea was that we check in to see if there's any way that we can get law enforcement to do anything about what's happening there with the Tanager Way situation. I subsequently had conversation with another resident of there and got some additional information. I did put out an email to everybody that was on that email list, and I asked them for any new instances of projectiles coming in. And I really didn't get any response there. I reached out to Londonderry PD and also to the state. And the problem, although everybody agrees that there's a possibility that this has occurred in the past and that it might occur in the future, everybody agrees there's a possibility of this happening. Nobody is willing to stick their neck out to prosecute. They can't prosecute. And I couldn't get anybody to make any sort of commitment in Concord or in Londonderry with respect to prosecution. They all seem to suggest that the civil suit is about the only recourse the neighbors have. The other thing, although there has been Sig Sauer had a situation, and I haven't gotten a lot of details from that, but they had a situation where people from their firing range was hitting 102 or 101, cars on 101. And I don't they had, I think there was a cease and desist order on that. But the only thing that I could think, putting on a different hat here, is perhaps there's legislation that is in order for some sort of regulation above and beyond what the Fish and Game went through when they first got their ability to, so, you know, and I don't know exactly what, how that would take place, and I haven't pursued that anymore. But just in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that, you know, maybe the state isn't doing enough to protect people like the people on Tanager Way, because we have a classic situation of, you know, different jurisdictions, different counties, and nobody's taking responsibility. There's no way of proving anything. So I don't know what the solution is.
I know the ask of the residents of Tanager Way that evening when they were in front of us and we made a motion to was to reach out to the county attorney. So on their behalf, I think we need to reach out to the county attorney.
Well, Londonderry reached out to the AG's office.
Okay.
Because they had emailed it, it's in the portal, so the AG's office had responded. March 3rd, 2022, the shooting, oh, so sorry, that was the town managers that I'm looking at. So they're writing in response to our office having received a letter from the town manager of Londonderry. He requested that our office reach out in order to update you on an investigation he understood we may have. On or about September 17th, 2021, you called and spoke to Chief Investigator Richard Tracy from our office. The call concerned issues you were experiencing on Tanager Way with respect to errant projectiles striking homes in the neighborhood, believed to be originating from a nearby Fish and Game Club in Londonderry. Chief Tracy advised at the time that he did not feel that the matter would be one that their office would investigate, but that he would check further. The matter was determined not to be one that would fall under the purview of their office, but rather the local police departments in conjunction with, if necessary, the local prosecutor and/or county attorney's office.
Yeah, so that's who they
So
wanted us to reach out to.
that's not the same as the AG? So the county attorney's office?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rockingham.
Well, would it be Rockingham or Hillsborough Rockingham?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, because it's two different ones. Londonderry's in one, Litchfield's in the other.
I feel, you know, if it's originating in Rockingham, it needs to be Rockingham. But the problem is,
It's affecting
people in
Hillsborough.
Hillsborough. That's part of the problem.
So maybe we reach out to Hillsborough, because it's within
Okay.
ours, and just see, you know, what do they recommend?
I didn't get anywhere when I tried.
No, you didn't.
Again, you know, their obvious retort was to say, all right, who do we arrest? You know, and that's
Yep.
the problem. But, you know, I think this it presents an issue that perhaps the state needs to do something about this. And so, you know, I'll look into that, but it's a shame, you know, at some point, somebody might get hurt here, you know.
Okay, so Ms. White, if you could reach out to the
Yep.
county's attorney, that'd be greatly appreciated. Next, we have school impact fees. Ms. White.
So Dr. Jetty, had contacted me on Friday and asked to be put on the, agenda for the school district to be put on the agenda to request the release of middle school impact fees.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I
Dr.
believe
Jetty,
they are
please
here
come forward.
tonight.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. And let me introduce in person, this is our new business administrator, Doug Totten. So Doug has been with us since July 1st.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody on the select board has heard that we have a little bit of a financial situation that we're trying to reconcile in the school district. And Doug has been working very hard to identify exactly what that situation is. But one of the things that in meeting with our auditors and our legal counsel is to identify any available funds that are not taxpayer driven that we can utilize to help offset a deficit that's been identified in our capital project fund. And so in looking back, there is a balance in the impact fees for the LMS, for the middle school of, what's the dollar amount, 40?
$49,494.
And what we're asking is that be released for the use for the projects that we've been doing there, all the energy upgrade projects and so forth. Because that will allow us to count that money as part of, as revenue toward the project. And then it will end up having less impact on other sources that we are identifying to close that gap. And if you look at the purpose of it, it's really consistent with the other uses of the impact fees that the select board has approved in the past. So that's our ask tonight, and we really are hoping that you'll take action tonight because we have more work to do this week, and knowing that this money is available to us will allow us to count that as revenue and move forward.
So this matches up with the new windows that went in at the middle school. So obviously there was more than $49,000 of new windows that went in, so above that, and we're asking for the balance of the LMS impact fees.
So Karen, the remaining impact fees, aren't the impact fees per school?
We have middle school, we have high school, we have elementary.
Okay.
Yep,
So the ones that are
So-
requesting are the impact fees that
In
are
middle school.
allocated to
the middle
LMS.
school, yes.
This is for work that was done in 2021?
Yes,
What
it
you're
is.
asking?
Yep,
So it's already been done and paid for,
that is correct.
and you're asking for money in 2022?
Yeah, that's why we came in person tonight. 'Cause it's different than how it typically goes.
Well, the other two times that we approved money was for projects that weren't done yet. So I have an issue with paying for something that's already been done and over a year old. And I think this money is to cover up the problem that's going on over there. And I don't support it. I will say that right out front. I don't support it for that. I don't think it's for the windows. I think it's to cover up a problem that's been created over there.
Another reason we came in person was to show that we didn't want to cover it up, that we were here to answer questions. So money has gone out for the windows, and windows, I think typically would be something that would fall under impact fees. So we're just looking to recover that money. Granted, it is after the fact.
Yes.
But not looking to cover it up, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
So obviously, there's been a lot of information out on social media with respect to the current situation with the school department budgets and so forth. Could you give us a 20,000-foot view of how this occurred and what is the situation? I've heard up to $1 million in arrears here somewhere. I've heard about the previous employee of the department somehow involved in the in making a mistake. So could you give us a 20,000-foot overall view of what the current situation is?
Yeah, happy to do that. So, so first of all, social media is not a reliable source of information, just to be clear.
Sometimes that's the only information you have.
So if you watched the last school board meeting where the school board had a presentation by both Doug and I explaining the situation, it's probably the more reliable explanation, right? Because that's what occurred in a public meeting. So to the point that we're not covering anything up, we're addressing it in transparency, and there will be a special meeting held on Monday, September 19th, to finalize a plan going forward. So that's just for clarity. I think that's the best source of information. Essentially, the belief in managing the capital project fund was that the project fund could be in a deficit situation at the end of the year and would be able to carry forward and be paid off over time. That's not an accurate belief, and so the auditors have said, no, you have to zero that out. You have to balance that out with revenue that you have in hand. So essentially, a vote yes tonight puts another almost $50,000 toward that project that was voter approved and funded by the taxpayers. A vote of no tonight means that we will have to find that same $50,000 somewhere else. And so our hope is that you have $50,000 collected from impact fees. It's available. The use is consistent. You are correct, Bob, that it is in arrears, that it's not being asked for in advance. However, it's still money that is consistent with the window project. And so our hope is that you will recognize that that is a benefit to all taxpayers if we utilize those funds. Otherwise, we're going to have to utilize other funds that the school district has available. And I can't speak for how the board is finally going to allocate all of that, but they have limited access to some funding in order to offset that cost. I hope that's enough of a overview of it. And the dollar amount is, we're still working our way through it. I'm not sure we can assign an actual, or what do you think the dollar amount, $1 million, is that the?
A little bit less than $1 million.
Yeah.
Right around 980,000, 988,000, yep.
At the school board meeting the other night, they mentioned $1.5 million.
So 1.5 million is where it starts with, and then we believe, we're working with our auditors, that our fund balance for the general fund was that we'd be able to transfer over $500,000 towards that.
From the general fund?
From the general fund.
Is that the money that was gonna go back to the taxpayers?
No, the money that was going back to the taxpayers was $285,000 of extra accuracy aid. That's still going back to the taxpayers.
And the windows isn't that a part of the LMS project that's going on now?
So it was part of
Continuation?
the phase one of the project, which was more windows and roof, and now it's more of the HVAC ventilation for phase two.
So it was last summer's project. It was
Yeah.
phase one
Yeah.
that was completed.
And were those monies from warrant or that from the state? Didn't we have some gophers and different parts that funded that?
Yeah, there were various funding sources that went into that.
I know in the past, when we've had questions concerning impact fees, I think the thing that came across to me is that we had to make sure that we dotted our i's and crossed our t's, and that we had a consultant that we dealt with.
Who has retired, and now we're going back through impact fee schedules via CIP. And
Yeah,
I believe
Jay
NRPC is doing it for us.
Yep. Jay Mankar is looking at those right now. Mr. Mayberry retired.
Okay, so where do we stand? Have those folks been approached with this use?
Not yet. We meet Thursday. I will see Jay. Not that we can't make a phone call, but they're pretty complex. They're going to take time to look through, you know. And Jay will make his best estimate. He is an attorney, but I don't think he's acting as an attorney for NRPC.
Ms. White, do you have anything to offer on this?
I would probably check with Jay and probably our legal counsel too, only because it is in the arrears that they've, you know,
Yeah,
this
that's
was
the biggest
last
thing
year's.
being in arrears, that
Yeah,
is it a funding source that can be used?
yeah. That would be my only concern.
I don't know, to me, it's just looks like a big shell game. We're moving money from here to here to here to here to here, robbing Peter to paint Paul, and I don't like it at all.
So I'm thinking at this time, I mean, we gotta go check with legal counsel and NRPC, and Jay's doing the schedules to make sure it's a valid use of impact fees. And until we know that, I'm not sure we can even make a decision on what to go do.
Could you make a motion to approve it pending validation of council?
I mean, we're talking here $50,000, correct?
Correct.
On $1 million tab. So to me, 50,000 is not, it's a drop in the bucket. So I think as a board, we have to be absolutely certain that we do all the right things here with this, because obviously it's not the typical use. So, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the only motion that's proper tonight is to approach them with this idea, and we go from there. And we can always get back together if need be, and if it makes sense to the board, based upon the feedback that we get, then we can go from there.
Yeah, and we
That's
are
my
meeting
feeling.
next Monday evening.
So, again, not being pushy, because it's, you've got to take the time you need. We have to submit our DOE 25 by September 30th. That's in order to be timely for tax rate setting, right? And so the board will have to, the school board will have to take action on Monday the 19th to do one of two things, either to fund this, or if they choose not to, it will result in a delay of tax rate setting, because we're not going to be able to get everything submitted in a timely manner. And so that's the deadline, it's the real pressure that we're facing in order to figure this out. And I only say that tonight so that you understand that if you were to approve it next Monday, that would be helpful news to us, because we could still take action, I think, at that point.
Yep.
But beyond Monday, we will have to use other taxpayer funds and to take action, because we do need to close this gap.
When do we have to have everything in to set the tax rate?
All my stuff is pretty much in until they revise my revenues. They usually set the tax rate like the middle of October if all your stuff is
Well,
in.
the
Because
December
we need to
bills,
get the stuff out, yeah, for November first to be due by December first, yeah.
But they need our DOE 20, so they need
Before
your
they-
records and our records together, so.
Yeah, my revise would come in like at the end, cause they wait for highway block, rooms and meals to be able to do that.
So we could put it number one on the agenda for next Monday and take it from there.
We could.
And we could get a report, in the meantime, we can get a report from Jay Mancura.
We can check with
And I'll call
Laura.
Lee,
and we
yeah, I'll
can
call
check
Laura
with-
tomorrow.
So we will go check with it, and we can make it one of our first agenda items for the 19th,
Perfect,
based on the feedback.
thank you for that.
I appreciate that, thank you.
While we're here, I know the CIP is working, but, you know, one of the things that we've struggled with is that the impact fees are delineated by school, sort of broken up. And I'm just wondering if it's possible in reviewing that to contemplate, and I don't know the pluses and minuses of this, but can there be one line for the school district? In other words, not breaking it out by 3 buildings, but a school district impact fee. We still would need to come forward for the approvals, but it would certainly, you know, what we've got is sort of 3 pockets right now that we're trying to work with, and if we had just that one line, we still would delineate exactly what the needs are based on that. So there may be a reason why when they wrote this that they break it out the way that they do, but just a request to consider that. I know as I was the treasurer for the town of Webster, and it was one line. It was the school impact fees. And so, just something to contemplate and think about here. So.
Yeah, I don't know what the history was, but I do remember somebody said there was a reason why they did it back when Dan Mayberry, is it, originally did the impact fee structure.
Yeah, I don't know why. We were just looking at them earlier, right?
Well, it's my belief that they did it so that you didn't deplete the money for one project and leave the other two schools
Hanging.
hanging with no money. So, again, I don't like this idea at all. I want to keep it separate so that each school has their own funds. Griffin's in need of a lot of work, and there's no question about that. And I would hate to see them, I mean, it's pretty much been let go anyways, but I would keep the funds as they are and use them in the appropriate schools.
Yeah, and that's, really, that wasn't our purpose tonight. I'm just asking as we continue the development, if that's something to be considered, so.
Kim, as we meet with Jay, perhaps you could pose that question. What was the original intent with respect to impact fees identified by facility? And what's the impact of eliminating that connection?
And maybe Mr. Mayberry would speak with Jay on what the original thought process was behind it.
To me, that would be like taking all the town impact fees and just putting them under one roof.
Yeah, because
It'd be the same thing.
we do break them up.
And we break them up by department, and so I don't think it's a good idea. Mr. Lynch, we haven't heard from you yet.
Who?
You.
I feel we have to look at the impact fee rules as they were written. This is something that they should have caught on last year, okay? And there's something missed in their financial program there. But I think Bob is valid, but I want to make sure we're legally correct with that before I go any further. So I'd like to have Jay review it this week if we can. Okay?
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Excellent, thank you. We appreciate your consideration, and we'll wait to hear.
I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Are you, with respect to impact fees, do you have any plans to offset the estimated 2023 deficit? What is the current estimated 2023 deficit?
So right now, we're focusing on closing out the books for '22. But it's a good point, Rich. There are impact fees that are available, and we would come forward to project forward on those. We would not be asking in arrears. So if we identify sources, we will definitely come forward for that. I'll give you an example. So impact fees at Campbell were used in two ways this summer. So one was the lighting project that's completed, up and going, turned out beautiful. And it was a combination of impact fee money and the seed grant that the district received from the state, or it's actually federal money that came through the Department of Energy. So those two sources made it so that there was no taxpayer impact because we were able to use those funds. In addition, we put these booster pumps in for the plumbing system. So now you can turn a sink on and a full stream of water comes out. You can flush a toilet and it's a full flush. It's not, I mean, we were having to flush the toilet 3 to 4 times in order to get enough water to actually drain. So these pumps have gone in and the water pressure throughout Campbell is right where it needs to be. So that's an example where utilizing the impact fee money helped us. And I truly think, I mean, we don't know the exact source of the plumbing issue, but development in the neighborhood is suspected as the reason why the water pressure was low. And so this would have been certainly an appropriate use of that.
So our first thought, though, as far as the deficit that's coming this year, is to tighten our budget as much as we can to cover it that way, and not to hopefully ask the townspeople for any more money. Now, we can't see what's gonna happen this year as far as if there's gonna be other things that happen at schools that cost money, but our first thought is let's tighten our budget, let's get the money that way, in order to cover it.
To that end, what we have explained to the board, it's my belief that when you create a problem, or you're part of a problem, it's your responsibility to clean that problem up. And so we are busy right now trying to own the problem and then find ways to fix the problem. There are some who have talked about a supplemental meeting to raise additional funds, and I don't think that's appropriate personally. The board ultimately will make that decision, Rich, but my advice and advocacy is that we created this, we clean it up. And so that's what we're attempting to do. So to Doug's point, if that means tighten your belt, it means tighten your belt.
I know in the past, and I haven't been involved, so I can't give firsthand knowledge, but I've felt that there wasn't enough transparency on the financial end with the budget committee and with the public. So I think that this situation goes a long way toward cementing that impression. I think moving forward, we have to make certain that we have ultimate transparency with whatever we decide to do, and whichever way it goes. So I think the public, and particularly the budget committee, needs to be fully informed at every step, every juncture of the way, so that everybody feels that they have a vested interest in what happens.
We appreciate that. I mean, I agree with you, Rich. There's never been an attempt to be non-transparent. And if we have not hit transparency measures that people have, then we'll work hard to get them met. That's our goal.
Like I say, that's not my impression. I just have heard that. So take it for what it's worth.
And my goal in presenting last week was to present with spreadsheets that people could look back on as well. And that was hopefully put together in a way that no matter if you have a finance background, math background or not, that you could kind of read along with it and kind of see where the money exactly went to. Okay. So that my goal was to show that transparency with those worksheets. And I'll continue to show transparency as I work on numbers.
I think that's the key thing for the upcoming meeting, is to be as transparent as possible, both in retrospect and going forward.
We agree, and I think the other thing that Doug has brought to this is utilizing the existing software. So we have software that drives our budget, and we should be pulling reports directly out of that software in order to explain where we stand. And so that's another piece, that those reports exist, and then making sure that they are clear and understandable by the public is the strategy that he has brought to the table and has done in the short time he's been here. So we'll keep at that.
I will give you credit for getting reports out. The other night, I did watch a school board meeting, and Andrew Cutter said it best, that the reports is exactly what the budget committee had been asking for the longest period of time. And just, it was like talking to a brick wall. We got nothing from the school. So I give you a lot of credit for getting those reports out to us. Hopefully it's the start of something a little bit better, because it's been a bad situation dealing with the school the last few years. You ask for information, you don't get it. You get it late, or you're told to look it up. It should never happen. Somebody asks the town for information, we give them the information. Okay? Hopefully you're gonna be that kind of BA, because we need that. Because the school's in trouble right now, and we need to fix it. Right?
Yep, school is in trouble right now, but the school's an important part of that town, so yep, we do need to fix it. Yep.
And to echo that, I think, this cannot become a us versus them situation. It's our town, and we need to come together and figure out how to resolve this. At the end of the day, we've been heavily investing in fixing our failed infrastructure. You're right, Bob. GMS is in rough shape. So is LMS. The systems there had failed. We're fixing them. We're spending money. Roofs, windows, ventilation. That's what the oversight is in, fixing schools.
I will go down on record as saying the LMS project is an albatross. That was a huge wish list of Washington ideals with the solar and all this other stuff. We didn't need that. Do you drive an electric car?
I do not.
Okay, I mean, but we're being asked to give up, oil, electricity, this, that, and the other, and I even saw somewhere where they're talking about studying electric school buses. Why is it a good deal for the town to do this stuff and not the school? I mean, this is probably not the proper venue, but I'm just saying this, from the outsider looking into the school, it is always, don't ask us questions, we'll do what we need to do, and just leave us alone.
Bob, I've answered every question I've been asked, and honestly, the ventilation system, fresh air in the middle of a pandemic, that's what we're providing.
I have no
Windows that
problem
are
with that.
properly insulated and that you can see out, that's what we're providing. So let's just say focused on the school was 40 years old or 35 plus years old, and it needed upgrades, and
Did
we
it need
provided
solar
it.
panels? Did it need solar panels?
It needs an.
No, did it need solar panels? That's a yes or no. Did it need them? It was money we didn't have to spend, the taxpayers didn't need to spend.
Well, you're gonna spend money to buy electricity,
You have a huge electricity budget in there now anyways.
understood, and we're gonna take
And
that
oil.
and use it to buy the solar. So I'm just saying that in the end, it's the same budget dollars that are being used. And, I think we're not gonna agree on whether it's a need or a want. What's needed is electricity to fuel this school, right? You need electricity to keep the lights on and
And
to
that's
keep
why we
the
have Eversource.
ventilation going, which just doubled and is gonna double again.
It
And
probably
so
will.
the solar will not. So I think in the long run, it will prove its merits, but
Until the capacitors go out, which will be about 8 years probably. And the architect at deliberative said 30. So we'll see how close that is.
Yep.
But I think it's an issue.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
so much for coming.
We won't be here Monday night because we'll be tied up next Monday. So we'll wait to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, have a good evening.
You too.
All right, next we have budget review, starting off with planning board, 4191.10. Ms. White.
Well, Oscar, I just received a complaint, the broadcast is frozen. Who unplugged it?
Mr. Croto is here for me.
Good evening,
You
how are you?
okay?
Trying to find planning.
Steve, will you do me a favor and turn
Oh,
the
Mike
temperature
doesn't.
up in this place? It's like a meat locker right now, I've been dying up here. Just push that button up a couple times if you could, please. I can tell you that John got in here before us.
I have a,
Thank you, Ray. That's where I usually
It
put
just
it.
got worse.
I have a snide
I don't
comment.
know.
And
Do
for
you
the planning board
guys,
tonight,
Are you ready, Kim, for
advertise
my
the
snide
planning
comment?
board meetings?
Let's hope
'Cause I
the
kinda
tying
lowered
up
that budget a
are not
little.
shackles.
Would you rather increase it?
Yeah, I
Leave
mean,
it where it
well,
was?
I think we advertise in
Okay.
the newspaper and.
So I'll leave it. I think I looked
Yeah,
at
I think-
what we've spent.
Yeah, there's really no change.
Litchfield street lighting rebate.
And that, I'll have to change my revenues back, which is fine.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Selectmen.
How have you been?
I have been very well, and yourself?
Okay.
It's kind of funny sitting back
Yeah, we
there
missed that meeting.
than up here, where you're sitting. So it's kind of a new view. My name is Michael Croto. I am the chair of the Litchfield Planning Board. I live at 6 Garden Drive. And I'm going to let Karen do the presentation. I really don't have anything to add. I'm just here for support. So I'll let her.
So there's not much that has changed in the planning board wages. And NRPC, we kept the same, and I think Joan checked, with Jay on that too. The public notices, we kept the same at $13.50, postage at $50. So really, everything is the same. The only thing that really increased were the wages for the admin assistant. So that went up $641. I mean, I don't know if you're
It's like being flat.
okay or have any qualms or.
No, I mean, I spoke to the members of the planning board, we talked about the budget, they had really no questions. So we did try to discuss it, and everyone seemed to be comfortable with what was presented, so.
It looks like a really good budget, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll be using some of that NRPC for the impact fees.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you will.
And our SIP plan.
And our,
And, yeah.
absolutely, so.
Perfect. Looks good to me. $641.
Gold star.
Good.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
How was-
Sorry
how
you
was
had to
that?
wait that long.
It wasn't too bad.
It's a lot easier than coming before the planning board for something,
Yeah, I
I can tell you
know.
that much.
So I've heard.
In the future, we like negatives better.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. Be well.
We got, what's next?
Zoning Board, 4191.30.
Bingo for that. All right, sorry.
Right next to it.
I gotta find zoning.
Oh, this one's even better.
So, yeah, I just kept theirs, flat. I didn't hear, so I didn't, change anything. And looking at the expenses there,
Wasn't that
Shouldn't
something
really
that they
be
were
any
talking about
change.
they needed?
zoning?
Yeah. Am I missing?
They get the law books every year. What else? They don't use software or anything.
And we still have that 10
Okay.
of them, at $8 and,
Am I missing?
yeah, they just have the seminars and the public notices and
Public
ads.
notice is usually the biggest piece of it.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, that's,
But-
yeah, that's their budget.
Yeah.
And 500 elsewhere, yeah. Okay, good.
And it actually got reduced, because in 21 it was
Yep, 32.
3280, but was there a change or something on how we could actually give notice?
Yeah, and I think that was more because of COVID, because that's what was our actual expense, and we didn't have the, what's the Hudson one? I
The-
wanna say
well,
thumbs
the
up,
newspapers,
thumbs
yeah.
down.
Litchfield
So we
is
had to go with the
HLN,
union
yeah.
leader, yeah.
Yep.
So we had to go with the union leader.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
so
that
that's,
was a little more expensive,
okay.
and you don't know how many hearings you're gonna have,
yeah.
so it's hard. Yeah,
Good.
I don't think we, in the past, had.
Kevin, you
very
good with that?
Yeah, I'm good, I hear it.
Yep, flat line, no increase.
0 is good.
That's zoning board and planning board is, 41, I can live with.
Yep,
All right, next, we got cemeteries, 4195.10.
All right,
Anybody here for cemetery?
cemeteries.
That's it.
anybody here from cemetery?
No, but I did, talk to, Jody Frazier, so I increased the water, a little bit going by, what they've spent.
Yep.
And,
How much was it?
the, build a monument repair, we kept the same. The groundskeeping, we kept the same. There was something that I thought, oh, she had increased the cemetery groundskeeping by 1,000.
Was that due to the fall cleanup?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if, Dalmatian, who does it, if his increasing.
Fuel costs.
Well, you got tree removal, fence
Yeah, I
repairs,
think it
road
was-
grading, et cetera, for
Yeah.
the increase.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's about right.
a little bumpy out there.
So, yeah, I don't know if Dalmatian is
Didn't win
increasing
budget?
any of his besides the 1,000 that they wanted to do,
I'm listening.
but
Okay.
Okay.
Are you in the portal all right?
there,
Okay.
that's what they wanted to change.
All right. Next is 4611.20, conservation. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're cutting that budget, right?
We're gonna move it over to rec.
Want me to go through it?
Sure, if you want to, unless you want me to, see if we have the same numbers. All right, let's see, what did we do? So property management, we increased from the dollar. We went up to $19.50 for, equipment maintenance, $500, fuel, $250, PPE and accessories, $200, paint, wood, supplies,
Okay, when you're done, I can speak to that.
bridge repair, kiosk repair, and landscaping at $1,000.
So, last year, we came in with a proposed budget where this line item was 1,900. And then that was cut by the budget committee. We're hoping that the board will allow us to try to get maintenance money in our budget for this year to help out with gas and the other supplies that are listed down here. I think the budget committee's stance is that they would like us to use the land fund to use to fund the gas and those types of things. And just to be frank, we don't do it because we feel as a commission, I think I'm speaking on behalf of the entire commission, that the land fund should be for land purchases and other major capital purchases that we have. Not for pens and pencils and a 2x4 from Lowe's and $5 worth of gas. So we're gonna try to bring that to the budget committee and see what happens. The rest of the budget is pretty much in line with last year, but that's the major.
And I think
piece
we've
that's
supported that every year, and then it's just been zeroed, or $1,
Yeah,
to keep the line item.
Usually the budget committee looks at, like, they've tried to buy a four-wheeler and some other things, tools and things, that can come out of the big fund, and the other stuff can still stay with your regular.
We agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, because that was always a bone of contention. Certain people never wanted to spend the money.
And they always kept the buck in there to keep the line going.
Yep.
Otherwise, it was just mileage and tolls, that went up 100 from 50 to 150, and dues and subscriptions from 500 to 650. So I think the big one on the dues and subscriptions was SPNHF and online software subscription.
Right, there's, so we purchased, or when Matt was the chair, we purchased a online software subscription that we use to support mapping, and we're also using it to support stormwater mapping for the highway department. That fell underneath ours because we've got the technical expertise in that area.
So the is up 2219. And mainly because of the property management that the budget committee cut out.
Cut out, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we support every year, so.
If you go to the budget committee when they're presenting these items, then you can speak your piece. And they're very understanding.
I'm gonna share something with you briefly. One thing that we're gonna bring into the budget committee this year, and hopefully at a future meeting I can spend 10 minutes on it, but we've developed two plans in the last 6 months. Number one is NRPC helped us develop a conservation plan, which really deals with inventorying what we have. And then internally, we developed a land preservation strategy that we've been talking about for the last year. And I'll distribute this to the board so you can take a look at it. But the long story short is this strategy helps us, provides a framework for how we would maintain, acquire, rank and prioritize properties across the town that we would potentially look at. It just kind of gives us a framework for all of that. So we're not shooting arrows at the wall. We've actually got a process to go through, and that's what this does right here. So I'm going to bring that to the budget committee. So like, hey, we spent a lot of time getting our act together for how we're going to use these types of funds. This is the guidance for that. And then hopefully that will help us out a little bit.
Yep.
Give us some maintenance money.
Yep. Just a little bit, just gas. Yeah, that's it.
I have a challenge for you.
Uh-oh.
There was
I can drink 24 beers. No, I used to be able to.
It's not that type of challenge, but it actually affects the two of you. There was something very historic happened in the not very distant past here in Litchfield. And it was the claim to fame of our former chief of police, David Campbell, in that there was a Manson girl who had a party, here in Litchfield in the 1977, 1978 timeframe. And it was a huge party. And was it Linda Kasabian? Was that her name? I believe it was Linda Kasabian.
It was.
And
It was, correct.
David Campbell raided that party, threw the whole bunch in jail, and
Did they break the decibel level?
probably, but there was a campfire involved also. I'd like to know where that happened. And it happened fairly close to Moore's Falls. I'm not exactly sure.
It happened, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't it happen about where Mel's is?
No, it's up on the flatland, behind, before St. Francis.
Yep.
Before they built all those homes there.
Oh,
Right
okay.
across was Albuquerque, somewhere in there.
Yep.
It was a work camp that the Colby family had.
Yep.
And they were the workers at the time. Cause I went to it.
Yep. And it was the Hells Angels, right?
The Hells Angels came up and we had a lot of police, state police. And Richard Riley, the sergeant,
Yep.
brought Linda to Nashua. And she's now back in New Hampshire.
Yep.
But I would like to find out where that is and to put a plaque there.
I'll look at the old maps. I'll find it for you.
Okay. Just make sure you have enough money in the budget for a plaque.
They actually had a bonfire and there was a no burn.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's what they got them on.
yeah, Craig Young went up there with the fire engine to put the fire out, and they ended up turning the hose on him, and that's when all hell broke loose.
And Leo Savini.
And Leo Savini was there.
He kicked the side of the brand new fire truck, the guy.
Yep.
And he got a little upset.
Yep.
So that's your challenge.
Between the two,
Good luck.
we'll make something up.
We good?
We're good.
I don't think
Good
you
job.
want a plaque.
Publicly thank Selectman Leary for the unbelievable job at the Old Town Hall. It just looks
It
tremendous.
gleams. It gleams. It really does,
Really,
Robert.
really good.
Only took a year.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not a year yet. I still have a month and a half.
Next, we have Parks and Recreation, 4520.10. Good evening, Mr. Gannon. Always good to see you too.
How are you? Steve Gannon, Chairman of the Rec, 12 Nesson Cake Drive. Not that you really need my address, but so as we know, last year was a tough year for Talent Hall. In the winter, we ended up having heating issues ended up having frozen pipe issues, and it's just been a tough year. The fields have struggled this year because of the drought, and they don't look as good as they did last year. So I'm gonna let you know, my budget's gonna go up a little bit, but the intent is to hopefully offset some of the damage that has been done and prevent it from happening again. So Karen and I will work together. We're kind of throwing some numbers back and forth. The first one, custodial wages isn't gonna change. It didn't go down much this year, wasn't really hit that much because the janitor was ill for a period of time, so we'll keep that there. Electricity, propane and water, I'll let Karen throw out the numbers that she figured.
Yeah, so, electricity, I've been waiting for our Eversource bills to see how much they went up, but it looks like we're contracted with Consolidated for our supply, or however that works. I wish I did it at home, but, I don't think we should see a big increase, cause I don't think that was affected as much as Eversource was. So I did try and increase them by 5%, just, in case. I'm waiting for another,
Well, the
bill to come
electricity,
in.
didn't we get locked in with
For
other
Consolidated.
with other
We're talking
towns,
about it,
right?
yeah.
And there was a certain percentage was the most it could go up in 1 year.
Oh, there was?
And we signed that
It's
for
involved
last
in
year?
that.
Last year,
I think it was last year, and it was either
And there was
5
a
years?
certain percentage, because we do get these quarterly checks as a rebate
Yeah.
that goes into our, revenues.
Can you go
or,
back and try to pull that so we can, I may
yeah.
even have it somewhere. I'm just curious, because I knew there was only a certain percentage it could go up
It could go up.
year over
okay.
year.
Well, there's a
Well, then that would be
$6,000
good to look.
Eversource rebate tonight.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we missed that. So that was the rebate for the street lighting that we had done.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, not for the towns, but for the street lighting, we had expected like 3,000 to 45, but we got over 6,000, for that rebate. When we
So that might give us
converted.
some insight though on electricity if we go back and pull that
Yeah, all right,
contract.
I'll look
on
it
what
up.
the increase could be.
Okay, yeah, because I did 5%. Theirs we did a little bit more because it seemed to be running high this year. And then propane, we got locked in at $2.25 a gallon.
Wow.
And so we did the average for their propane.
Who's the supplier on that?
Propane is, I'm not sure offhand.
$2.25.
That's
Yeah,
really
we
good.
were 185 last year. It went up to 225.
It's still really
I
good,
think
though.
it's something energy.
Just, to the board, Kevin Lynch. When we did the propane in the past, the school was part of it too. We got a better price, the town did.
Yeah, but I saw an email from Troy and asked, because I don't think the school had locked in yet at the time, asked if we could lock in separately.
Okay.
And I think we were able to do
think that's
that,
right.
actually. I
Yep,
had
that
that
happened.
So
email.
how many different places do we use propane?
Just talent.
Talent halls all?
Oh, in town?
In town?
Quite a few.
Yeah, town hall,
Yeah, we
police,
did-
old fire station, highway garage, fire station, old fire station, dog kennel, and town hall.
Yeah,
But for rec, it's only talent.
so better than oil.
So the Puppy Palace has propane?
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta keep those puppies warm.
Somebody asked me the other day if that was still in use. And I couldn't answer.
It is, but I don't know how many
I don't know the last
they
time they've
put
had
in
one,
there,
yeah.
but it is still.
But it
Yeah,
is
it's still
usable.
there, used, cleaned, yeah.
I mean, we share the Londonderry officer, right?
No, we have our own animal.
Oh, we have our own,
Oh, yeah, we've had Jerry for a long time.
and they use, so
High cotton.
probably it just gets put on the What's Up page and that eliminates the need for that.
Oh, that we have, yeah. Yeah, I think Jerry's been doing it since the 90s or 80s, a long time.
When a dog is found in town, it's usually brought back to the station. It is posted typically, and the owner usually found fairly quickly. I think in this year alone, I think the kennel's been used 3 times, so I can think.
Yeah.
Wow. I hope we're not running propane to keep those 3 dogs.
They keep it, what, at like 50 until they get one? It's way down.
I thought they don't run it. I thought they were doing the recycled oil to keep that.
Maybe.
We keep it to heat it there because of the plumbing.
Yeah, the plumbing's easy.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Water's been significantly higher this year for some unbelievable reason.
Really?
Yeah, we went back, well,
And here's the best part, we've turned the water main off.
but this was earlier in the year when we looked at the budget, right? That there was a couple months that were really high for some
But
This
reason.
water is only talent hall. The irrigation is pumps and wells.
Yeah.
So for some reason, after the water froze last year and we had it repaired, it nearly doubled. And I monitored the meter and it's not leaking anywhere. It's
And
just,
Steve went down and did a flow test and it was accurate.
yeah, well, throws out a lot of water.
Yeah.
But it's,
Quickly, too.
building repair and maintenance, we're at 43 last year. I'd like to increase it to 45. This kind of goes into the idea that I'd like to do some things to talent to make it a little more efficient, such as get rid of the 40-gallon hot water tank that's used for 2 sinks. I'd like to look into getting a on-demand electric that we could use, and then we don't have to worry about the pipe running underneath the stage and going upstairs, and no one uses the kitchen, so we could maybe move the mop sink, or we'll figure out what to do with it. Also, tie it into the water, get low-flow toilets and stuff like that. Last year, we found out that just the flapper valves were running.
Yep.
You know, nobody was in there during COVID, so we don't know how long they were running, but it's, all those utilities, or all those fixtures really need to be upgraded, make them more energy efficient. So when we're not using the building, it's not costing us money. Trash container services, this is another one that caught me off guard. Originally, we made a change where we're gonna put all just smaller 4-yard dumpsters.
Yep.
but it ended up costing us more, so we did work with Dave on that one.
And we went to 5566, is that what we did with that?
Is that what, 5566? Yeah, up from 32.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big increase.
Well, we picked up a couple more that used to be picked up by
Yeah.
Sporting, but still Dave negotiated us a rate and we got rid of the big one at Dara, right?
Right.
Went back to a 4-yard one.
Right.
So it's surprising that it's up that much.
Yeah, and we're gonna work with Dave to figure out, my anticipation and the numbers I saw is if we got rid of the big one at Darrow, went to a small one, that cost would offset picking up the other three.
Yeah, I remember when we ran through that and Dave got a great price for us through Waste Management because of all the tonnage he does that way.
I think some of it is because, they weren't on a schedule, so they've been sitting out there year-round and not being picked up in the winter.
Good.
I'll sit with Dave to see what we could do. Chemical toilet rental, this is actually gonna be a decrease. We have a new resident in town who has submitted a quote with me, and it'll be a savings of $352 if we accept it. I'm gonna send that information over to Miss White, and she could review it. Small company based out of Dracut. Like I said, he just moved into town, and he would be very responsive. He went around and looked at all the sites where we already have toilets, so the quote he provided is to replace what we have, and he provided the cost difference when we have like a special event.
Will he put in concrete pads first? So they don't
I
get
talked
tipped
to him
over?
about that because tipping fees are like $50 or $100. So I asked him, I'd like to work with you, make concrete pads. He says, it's a great idea. I'll definitely help you build pads and save us that cost.
Oh,
and
perfect.
Prevent that irritation. Public notices and ads, we never use this. Our latest round of submitting RFPs, sending RFPs, is we do direct solicitation through emails. We did it before, sending in the union leader, but we didn't get any responses. So we'll keep it at 70, we'll drop it from 150 to 75 and keep it there just in case. But I think that's one of those things that is going to go away. General supplies, left it where it is. Equipment repair and maintenance, left that where it is. Field maintenance, once again, we have not heard back from our current contractor on if they wish to extend the contract. The deal we have is a 1-year contract and then 2-year possible extension. The first year allows us to get out if we don't like what's going on. It also allows them to come back to us and say, you know what, I need to renegotiate it. So I'm kind of expecting that to go up a little bit this year. It's at 87. I'm thinking it's gonna hit about the 90,000 mark. Field improvement, this has been set at $1 forever. A couple of years ago, we set it at $1. This is one I'd like to fund at 2,500. Some of it is, one of the reasons why our fields look like they do is because a lot of the irrigation heads are damaged, or they're being clogged, or the well pumps need to be serviced, and they're not being done. If you look at Dara Pond right now, or the fields at Dara, they're as brown as this table. And a lot of it is just because the pump cannot put out enough flow to water the grass. So that's one of those that, I'd like to be able to get some maintenance done and replace heads on a regular basis.
Because all the heads were replaced last year.
At Dara.
At Dara, but we still have that flow issue out there. There's just not enough water for it.
And I got notified of, a couple of the irrigation heads at Sawmill aren't going down.
Yep.
So it's kind of an indicator that we're gonna start having
We have
problems.
2 at Dara that we have to go address. And one of them is leaking, so I think it might be the ball valve itself.
Okay,
We've tried to do it. That's the one behind the pitching plate on the 12U field. And then the head itself is broken down at the 10U field.
Oh.
And those are the ones you just reach into a handhold and turn on, so we're not,
yeah.
it's not hurting anything. They just use it to water down the infields.
That's something that we could just replace ourselves.
Might be able to just dig it up and put a new head in there. But the leaky one, we may have to go back and look at the ball valve and see what's going on.
We'll have Andy talk to Alliance. And equipment purchases, we have a 320. I'd like to bring that up to 600. Once again, so we could purchase items to maintain the property, like a post hole digger to put more fences in. maybe a rototiller, et cetera, going forward to rototill the baseball fields. Furniture fixtures, nothing there. Mileage reimbursement, it's been at $1. I'd like to bring that up to $1.50 to cover fuel cost and as other equipment, so that the volunteers are not spending all their own money and they could have something to be reimbursed by. Last one is program expenses, that's at 18. I'd like to bring that up to 2,000. The program expenses are about what we use for Spirit of Litchfield, so we have the Fall Festival coming up in 2 weeks, Christmas in Litchfield. The Fishing Derby was a huge hit, so we want to increase that. I think next year we're going to start seeing more events coming forward. So this money is used to help seed that and help kick off those situations. So all in all, I think it's up about $10,000, a little more
I
than
have
10,000.
12,464.
464.
Yeah, so maybe we can just review and make sure, but I have 12,464.
You have 1264?
I have 12,464.
Oh, I got 9,965.
Did yours not? It might not if I was changing on the go.
Yeah, I got 12,464 in mine. But I mean, if you really look at it, the big increases are propane,
Electricity and water.
electricity, and
Yeah.
water.
Utilities.
Yeah.
And I think if we can get into town hall, and like I said, get rid of the hot water tank, go to on-demand and go to low-flow toilets and replace all those. We've always had the argument about putting good money after, we don't know what we're gonna do with talent, but I think if we put money into it now, at least we'll see an offset. One of the other issues we have is, when the the propane goes out, there's electric heaters in the bathrooms to keep the pipes from freezing, but they're pretty much on or off. And I've spoken with a local electrician, actually Joel, and he said he could probably put something in that would be thermostats, but they'll be in like the office or remote location, so they'll do a better job at maintaining the temperatures instead of cranking it on. Then you go in.
You go to those bathrooms, some days it's 90 degrees in there.
It's, we did look at, last year, we had the propane thermostat changed out, so that it would actually function, but that faulted out and ended up causing more headache than it was even worth.
That's still a good building. I mean, it needs a little bit of love, but it's a good building. The floor needs to be addressed.
We have had, Chris Burns on our commission, had a company come out and look at possibly putting like a rubber mat over the top of it. He actually had to come out and look at the basketball, the
Tennis courts.
Tennis courts. And also, when he was there, the guy looked at the, putting a layer on the basketball court at Talent. And we need to get somebody to climb underneath to see if we couldn't do the work and if it'll support it.
And they stuck their head in there and they thought it was pretty decent.
Pretty decent, yeah. Chris wouldn't climb down.
There's no way Chris would even fit down there.
I think it needs supports.
I fell through the floor there once, and
How did it look when you were down there?
I'm just happy that I didn't straddle one of those beams. Those beams are like that, when they go down about 4 feet. That wouldn't have been so good, but
True dimension lumber.
I can't imagine, covering the floor, I can see, but replacing I can't see that floor is worn out.
So we've asked about having it refinished, and the guy that used to do it, I think actually moved, he said that it cannot be refinished again. He cannot sand it any further. So we'd have to strip it all apart and then put a new wood floor on it.
But they do have stuff that you can put down, like a rubber covering. or
That's what we are considering.
And that might be preferable.
Yeah. When the guy did poke his head underneath, he said, it looks like it was cement pillars and stuff. So from just his initial observation, he thinks it's still a strong sounding structure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It was still, I think, what, $30,000 to put the cover down?
But in the interim, we should give it a good washing.
Yes, I did reach out to a couple people and I didn't know where the budget was going after the propane, so I didn't follow up.
In the water.
How many months of the year is Talent used?
It is,
All you.
no, actually during the summer it's too hot, so it'll crank up now, with, basketball, the soccer's in there, not soccer, softball, baseball go in there for practices if if the weather's not outside, nice outside, and it'll run probably till May.
March, May, yeah. It's from November 1st on, it's heavily used.
Yeah.
But then pickleball uses it.
Pickleball uses it
They use it almost every day.
except in the summer.
They don't use it in the summer.
No, it's too hot.
And then basketball will start up and they'll use it every day from like 5 to 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Fridays, and then Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And then usually baseball, softball, they come in, and soccer use it all day Sunday.
Yeah,
So
it's-
in the fall and winter, it's used a lot.
Methinks we've gotten our money's worth.
Oh, yeah.
That building was in disrepair when Mr. LaSalle was on the rec commission. And he's the one that started bringing it back from the dead. And he deserves
That's
a
when
lot
I
of
fell
credit.
through the
And I think Mr. Brennan gave it the last paint job.
It was 2008, Litchfield girls softball painted that building. Needs another coat now.
It sure does.
Trying to keep breathing life into it, that's all we could do.
It's a good building.
I mean,
It's got a lot of history there.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve,
What's the senior barbecue?
I took that.
Rich and I could be hungry that day.
Wrong type of senior.
Yeah,
What?
I took that off. It used to be
Don't look at me.
somebody from, like, one of the over 55s, they used to do one and have something down at the
Oh, really?
Presbyterian Church. And, what was her, Betty?
Oh, yeah.
Betty
There were two
Darling.
sisters.
Yes, yes. And so we paid for their lunch, but they haven't done that in years. Long time. I think she passed away.
We used to have barbecues in town.
And dances every Friday night.
Used to be dances.
At the Grange.
All right, next we have information technology, 4150.20.
That's where Robert was conceived,
The Grange. I was in a silo.
in one of those dances.
Mosquito district, 441120.
I don't think anything changed
Steve, you
in
didn't
that
hear
one.
that.
I gotta find
What
it
happened to
now.
IT?
John's gonna go last, he said.
Robert was conceived at.
Yeah, I have no changes. I contacted them and got, a new contract, and it seems like we carry a little bit more just in case, you know, maybe if they find something, and then general supplies. I left it the 100 that we did this year, so there's no change in that one.
Good. All right, next we have general
government
governmental
building.
facilities, 419410.
This is like a ping pong match.
Yeah, let's see what I did with that one. So the custodian wages, are the same. So I have to go back and look at the electrical and see what, our increase may be, or the most it can go up, but I increased that by 1,125. Propane, increased, up to the 225 a gallon. I kept the water the same. The meeting house, electricity, that's a reimbursement, and we do collect revenue, you know, that goes into the revenue when they pay us back. Building repair and maintenance, I did the 3-year average, so I increased that. The container services, I went back and looked through that, and those are $307 a month, so that increased a little bit by $228. I think the big thing is gas. I mean, I went by what they're thinking it's gonna be at $3.59. I don't know if it will stay there, go up, go down, but that's what I did. So there's an increase of 10,000 there.
That's a big one.
Diesel, I dropped a little bit. I went to 414 against the sheet that's attached there. And it seems to be 64 gallons that we do, so I
Ready?
decreased that a little bit. Custodial supplies, I did the 3-year, average on that, so that increased by 782. So that's up by $17,059. The main thing is gas.
Yeah, 10,000 of it is.
Yeah.
Seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
Utilities.
Utilities. Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll circle back to information technologies. 4150.
What's the
Hopefully
number
I
on
know
that?
what I'm doing.
4150.20.
Good evening again.
Good evening, welcome back.
Thank you. I guess we can start with 110 wages. That's an increase over last year by $539. That's related to the 2% increase in my contract.
Just went to the bottom line.
Right there. Just as a side note, I'm still averaging about 38 hours a week on a 24-hour-week paycheck.
That's pretty short.
Yes. And it's,
I think that's a low estimate, John.
I would say more.
my wife would agree with you all. Weekends and nights are always fun. But anyway, line 341, which is telephone and data, small increase of, there's an increase of $5,280, and I'll explain that. Our consolidated line, which is our phone, broadband services around the town wide, that stayed stable. It's based on a run rate. The biggest thing, the increase is actually in the Verizon Wireless, which is our wireless carrier, and it really aligns to something that's at the bottom of my budget. But it's basically an increase of about $440 a month for additional services for the police department. Again, an increase of, like I said, $5,280 to that bottom line. And I'll explain that a little bit more in detail in the bottom. Moving to 342, this is pretty well flat from last year. Most of our services that we have were increased last year. There is one notable increase that's significant, which is $10,000 to our Google services. As everybody knows, we use Google services, or Google Suite or Workspace. Obviously, it's driven by usage, but also more importantly, it's been driven by the need to actively archive more of our stuff that goes on in the town, and that's requiring us because of legal issues and so on. So, this is creating a requirement for us to move from what we're at today, from a level of a packaging service, to the next one up, which is what they call Business Plus, I believe is what it is. That'll give us some additional storage for long-term storage, plus allow us to take all of our elected officials and vault their email. Okay, so that's the main driver. I held the usage, the seat count to a number that I projected last year. I think it increased by 5. We're holding steady at $130 right now, so as far as people go. So that's what that.
Now, do you have to pay per seat, or is it blocks of seats?
It's per seat.
Per seat.
So it can roll. If I drop somebody off, they just fill the seat, right? So as people come and go, the number doesn't. I don't go above our normal count.
I didn't know if it was a block, like 1 to 50, 51 up.
No, so if I think I explained this last year. When I started Google Services with the town, I went and got certified from Google. So the town pays what they call a partner rate, which is not the street price. So I think it's like a $5 or $10 discount if you go out off the street. So you guys pay the bill. I don't really care what goes on of that stuff to pass through. So that's that. So 630, this is where some of the increases, the larger part of the increases are, which is basically around our equipment maintenance and equipment maintenance. When you go down the line, the only change comes back when we enter into the maintenance required for our communication system. So we constructed a whole new communication system, brought it online. It's been online for about 1.5 years. We have now come out of the warranty period, so all the manufacturer warranties are gone, and now we have to maintain. And the maintenance basically requires yearly inspections, tower climbs, bolt adjustments, what they call ARF sweeps and all that. That program typically is $20,000 a year. We invested in what we call field replaceable units, so we actually have spare parts on premise if we have a failure, so that helped us there. But what I've also negotiated with the company was to knock it down in half. I'm first call. When something happens to the system, I'm the one that goes and troubleshoots it, investigates it, and then calls them if I can't solve the problem. So $10,000 is the vendor costs. $5,000 is the commitment that they'll show up on time within 4 hours, deal with that, conduct those yearly inspections. The other $5,000, what they call consumables, that will happen during that event, right? That $5,000 may be less some years, maybe more some years. Just depends on what kind of failures happen over time. And the failures are water damage in the feed lines, bad antennas, things like that, right? So
What's the hardware technology?
what's that?
The hardware technology, what drives the system?
So the system is made up of 4 locations. It's all Motorola communications gear. It's based on, we actually have two different systems. We have what we call two VHF systems, which is police and fire, and a UHF system that we've extended to DPW, the school, rec. Anybody who wants to use it can use it. It's actually a shared environment. And we have sites at Rocky Hill, which is up on Colonial Drive, which is the water tower. So we have a 100-foot tower there to maintain. We have generators up there, that kind of thing. And then we have other sites at Old Town Hall, Darapon, and Morgan. Those are the 4 sites that make up the environment.
So, do we have any way of knowing the usage on it? I mean, is there any meter functionality at all?
Meter, no meter functionality. We record all of our public safety communications, so we can see the traffic there.
Okay.
So,
But anything other than public safety?
no.
I mean, that's the majority of the system, though, is public safety.
Majority is public safety. The UHF system we put up was to help bridge for emergency events, and we were able to extend it to DPW and improve it. If you want to listen at the time, listen to DPW. It's entertaining.
Is there a channel that you can listen?
There is today, although I think it may be turned off. But,
I will say that the communication tower at Old Town Hall, when I go in there, my Wi-Fi automatically goes to it, and then I get nothing.
which Wi-Fi you
It
going
says
to?
Litchfield something or other.
Oh, that's coming off the old fire station, Litchfield NH.
I have no idea, but I got nothing. I throw rocks at that tower every day.
It's not the tower. It has nothing to do with it.
That's
So
why the
that's
building got paid,
just
the
like
phone
you,
didn't work.
just like when you come into this building, we broadcast the wireless network called Litchfield NH.
Yeah.
When you get there, you're supposed to go to a web page and accept the splash page. If you don't do that, you get nowhere. You have to accept the terms.
The hell with that.
If you give me your phone, I can fix it so it doesn't do it for you anymore. So yeah, that's the communications, the communications program basically to maintain the system. Additionally, is another $897 for yearly maintenance of the generators. We have 3 generators now that we maintain at these sites that have no power. They're off the grid basically for the most part. And then a $1,500 line item for subscribers. The subscribers are everything that's the car radios, the antennas in the cars, little portables, batteries. I just had to buy a bunch of batteries, both fire and police, $1,000 for like 12 batteries. It's expensive. So we don't buy that many batteries, but they do fail, and some of our batteries are getting at their life expectancy, so we've been cycling through. All right. That's that. Moving to 740, which is equipment purchase. So there's some new items here. We'll walk them through. So our computer replacement program, as we've been doing since I started this role, we replace 5 computers every year, cycling through our 55-plus computers every year get replaced. So basically, computer gets about 5 years, it gets retired. Sometimes it'll get retired to a lesser job, maybe a kiosk, something like that, or it gets just retired and disposed of correctly. Challenge here is that what I used to pay $975 per unit is now at $1,275.
Oh, really?
Last year, we didn't increase the cost, but when we went to try to buy our 5 computers, I had to only buy 4 because the costs are up there.
Same functionality?
Yeah, they're pretty much the same equivalent from a
Same
from
software and
yeah,
so
same
forth.
spec. Yep, same spec.
Because I was under the impression that hardware had gone down.
No, and because of the high demand, the long lead times, like the 4 computers I bought last year or this year actually, I ordered them in right after the vote. I started getting them in first part of August. I received 3 of them. So now prices may come down eventually at some point in time too. We always have to readjust, but that's what the estimate is for next year. And we do have, unfortunately, we have probably 8 computers in the line that should get replaced. So only can do 5. Second line is a new request. Basically, in the police department, we have 2 locations that require a lot more screen real estate. Our dispatch center currently today is running off of 2 small monitors. They need a lot more real estate with the CAD environment they have, the reporting, what they call spots and all that. So basically, we're trying to move them to a stacked wide computer, right, or monitors. That's 2 of them there. And then we have our detective. Our detective is on a standard 27-inch monitor. He needs to go a little wider because when he's doing investigation, especially when he's doing evidentiary verification from dumps from cell phones and that kind of data, there's a lot of spreadsheets side by side. They're comparing data, and it's just not enough screen real estate for him. So we want to try to accommodate that if we can. He's been doing a lot of it lately. It drives me absolutely crazy because I get tons and tons of data coming in this building every day because of it. So the request is for 3 these monitors. The going street price right now is $850. Hopefully it doesn't change. So $25.50 is what I'm asking for there. The next line is overhead speakers. So in the police department, there is an old overhead speaker system. And the purpose of that speaker system was so you can hear the radio. You can hear someone call, hey, we got a call down the hall, versus yelling down the hall, pick up the phone and dialing, and hope someone picks the phone up. It was always an overhead system. That's been defective for a while, and it's been something on the punch list to get replaced. So we're looking to kind of replace what they have with a system that we actually can integrate with the phone system plus with the radio, so that they can actually pick the phone up and do the, hey, sergeant, whatever, call on the line 2, pick up the call, and then 2, just constantly hear the radio throughout the whole building. Today we have a couple spots where they can hear it, but there's places in the building they can't hear it. For example, the chief cannot hear it in his office. The captain cannot hear it in their office. We want to put a speaker into those offices where they can turn the volume down.
Don't they all have,
Not all of them. The patrol officer will be carrying their radios with them all times, yeah. But you're talking about administration or someone, the detective working in his back office, he won't hear the radio. And then just a continuation of we had started this last year, the in-car computers, what we call MDTs. They were installed, majority of them are 8 years old plus. They've need to be replaced. We had 2 purchased last year. Actually ended up having to do 1 because the price went so high. And secondly, the other one had to get taken out of the loop to go and replace one to go into the new cruiser. As you probably know, they went from 5 frontline cruisers to 6 frontline cruisers, and that was equipment that we had to kind of divert over to that 6 cruiser. So we're just basically asking for the two MDTs to replace, continuing that process. The price did increase by about $2,000 for the 2, so it's up from 9 to 11 and change. Okay. Replacement of 2 firewalls. So in this complex, we have the firewalls are what protects us from the outside. So all of our traffic goes through these firewalls to get to the internet. We actually use a lot of services on the internet, so they're important. The one that's here is our oldest, but it's actually providing dual responsibility. It connects us to all the state services, plus in general, people going out to Google and stuff like that. The one at the fire station, we had recycled one we had at the old fire station, so that's actually now beyond its life expectancy, so we need to replace that. So this is, that's 5 times, by the way.
100%.
I hope he's okay.
he's
That's
in
the
worse
first
shape
time
than
I
I am.
Wash your hands, Kevin.
That's the first
Yeah.
time.
So these would actually replace our 2 operational firewalls.
There is a mute button.
Renew them, and that's for $9,448. That's with a 5-year license, and so there'll be no additional cost after that.
Do we have any vulnerabilities, in your opinion?
Users.
Yeah,
Did I
it's
say
the
that
biggest
right?
one. It truly is the biggest
It's
one.
users.
Yeah.
Users.
Okay.
So, I'll jinx myself by saying things like that, but we have a lot of tools in place to protect even the users, but users are the weakest link in everything, right? So no matter how much I protect the borders, if someone comes in with a flash drive that has something on it, they plug it in, that creates a challenge. We educate continuously. Whenever I'm aware of any kind of vulnerability or an exploit that's occurred or something that other agencies may be seeing, I send out broadcast messages, I talk to people, don't open up any attachments you don't expect, that kind of stuff. So education is the best tool we have, but every machine is protected, several layers of protection. We don't have any privileged users, so if someone got infected, had a problem, potentially just affects them, not anybody else, right? But if someone had the keys to the, the transfers of treasury dollars, that could be a challenge, but I think we're fairly well prepared. And our staff knows really well enough to do. I get phone calls all the time, I got this weird email, should I open it? No. We'll double check it, so I think we're in good shape, but again, I don't wanna jinx myself, I'm going on vacation. I thought I was. Next is, so you heard earlier the administrative chief talk about, the interim chief talk about our video systems within our the dashboard, we call our dashboard cameras.
Yep.
Those were installed when I started here, we started doing this about 8 years ago, and majority of them are now beyond their life expectancy. But it's actually a good indicator, because if you think about what he proposed to you folks, the body cameras, and you're talking about a 5-year warranty, we actually expect we'll get more than 5 years out of these devices, right? Even if the body worn ones, because they're worn on a body, they're not gonna be thrown around and tossed around. So we think we'll get longer. These units, same manufacturer, I have some that are almost 10 years in service, and I got others that are 8 years in service. Now, none of them are covered by any kind of programs now. If they break, I gotta pay dollars to fix it. But the technology's also changing, so they're coming to the point where they're not gonna be software supported anymore, so we can start replacing them. So I'm looking to replace 2 of those units this year, 2 units next year, and 1 unit in the 3rd year. That'll replace the fleet that was original, and the rest is all net new stuff coming in. Right, and that's $12,900. So I talked to you about in the data services line, I said this is something that why the Verizon costs are up. So with the police department, everything is discoverable, right? And so today, when an officer goes on scene, is taking pictures of an accident scene, or maybe a voice recording of an interview or something like that on their personal phone, it exposes their personal phone to search.
Yep.
And there's been lots of recommendations that officers should not be using their personal devices, even though it's convenient. So what the department's been asking is, can we fit out the cruisers with basically a car phone, a phone that's assigned to the cruiser. When they go on shift, they take it with them. That's the phone they use for all communications, all pictures, and so on and so forth. And then assigning, there's 11 phones in the program, so there'll be 6 assigned to cruisers, and the rest would be assigned to the chief, the captain, the detectives, the 2 sergeants, because those folks are the ones that would be on call, and they would probably be responding from home, or potentially someplace where they wouldn't be in a cruise that would have a phone. And so the startup fees for that is acquiring the 11 phones at roughly about $650 a phone, and then the supporting equipment, charging stations and all the cables and harnesses and all that stuff, about $1,000. So I'm estimating about $81.75 to get that program started for them. Phones may be cheaper in the sense of how we can buy them. Depends on the cycle. We buy phones through Verizon typically, and we typically can sign deals where the phones may be half the price. It just depends on when we hit the cycle. Now, new phones were just announced, so that may give us some benefit to reduce that cost, but that was the price as of when I did this budget. Second to last, this is the 5-year lease agreement we just talked about earlier. This is just the increase based on that for this new term, the new 5-year program we talked about. Right. And then additional UPSs, I keep on coming back. I keep on having to replace UPSs, and I need more. So I just called it out because those are getting expensive too. I should be able to buy them in, 5 packs for $500. Now it's costing me $800 for the same 5 packs.
What?
For UPSs, battery backups for your computers. This building doesn't have a dedicated backup system, so every computer that is critical has to be on a battery backup.
How many critical computers do we have?
Pretty much all of them.
Wouldn't it make sense to have a centralized backup system?
It's very costly.
Really costly.
It's very costly.
Very costly.
Yeah, it's very costly, but, it does open up a conversation. One of the things I wanted to ask the board about, and this, Steve, I wanted to talk because of CIP, the building generator here is 22 years old.
Yeah.
And it's time to replace it. Because every time they come out to do some kind of small repair, they find they can't get a part and they get a makeshift a part. So something I think about, we gotta look at from a CIP perspective, I believe. And I'm getting estimates anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 just because of the switchgear. Because they have to replace all of
Then
it.
the lead time's gonna be way out.
Right. So,
How about the generator at the old fire station? How old's that one?
I don't know, but it's a consumer version. It's not it's a small generator. Well, it's a larger Generac. I think it's a 12K, but
Yeah.
that wouldn't even run this building.
Probably run the emergency services of the building, but not the.
No.
You don't even think so?
No, because you gotta remember,
Got that much IT load and everything?
the primary IT load is in this building.
Mm-hmm.
If plans ever work the way they were gonna work, they would actually get shifted to the PD and fire station and then connect over here, but, primary load's over here.
Okay.
And then if you think about the police department, it'd be fully operational. That's all that computer load. That's where the predominant of the computers are from that resource. And then, yeah, I wouldn't expect that to run very well. Especially when you got AFAC running and stuff, because this runs HVAC, runs everything, so. If it was just computers and we didn't care if we sweated, it'd be fine. So that's pretty much it.
To the tune of 71,660.
I rounded up, $72,000 the increase over last year. As I said earlier, I'm not gonna be here next week. There is some IT items in the PD budget that I can talk to, but I don't know if you want, we can always carry it after the fact.
Yeah. I mean, but you gotta think about it, you're 71, almost 42 of it is in 740.
Yes.
And a lot of that's all new expenses.
Yeah, and it's actually, all of it'll be, it's one time and then it goes
Yeah.
away, yeah.
Technology goes up every year.
I don't do it on purpose.
No, but I'm just saying technology itself goes
yeah.
up every year.
Somebody had to break the bubble.
I know. I said, this is great, flat, flat, flat. Nope, not flat.
I gave him a teaser, and he pushed it.
He shoved it.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I will suggest that, there's room here to, if there's end of year dollars left, to basically pre-buy it and then take it off next year's budget, right?
We've done that in the past, especially
Right.
for radios and stuff.
Right, we have, and I just wanna make sure it's called out. If I find the ability to do it, even in my own budget, although my budget's becoming pretty tight right now, because I've had several high dollar amount unexpecteds. So, but, that
And
being
that
said.
happens with old technology. It
Yeah,
fails.
well, when someone power washes the wall and it wipes out a $2,000 intercom, yeah, it does. You know,
Who did that?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
Power wash had a mind of its own?
I don't know. No idea. It happens, stuff like that happens all the time. But we'll look at, see what we can do, but that's,
I've never power washed off something off a house like that before.
it wasn't you.
I know.
I'm not even sure the person knew they were doing it either, unfortunately. But that problem's been fixed. It won't happen. You can spray it like crazy now if you want. I don't care. It's all fixed.
It's all good. All right.
Yeah,
We had nothing for 'em.
yeah, they're all good asks.
It is what it is. We've been so tight the last 2 years, so at some point you have to ask.
All right, well, thank you for all your help, all your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, fix that signal down there, will you?
Let me see your
Just give him
phone.
his phone. That's your phone over.
No, it wasn't.
I don't even want.
It's been through worse.
All right, come on.
No, I don't. No, I
So
don't.
I did miss
I would
one
get rid of
item.
that one if I
Oh,
could.
yeah, these
I
little
did miss
things.
one item. It was the PSNH Eversource rebate check in the sum of $6,388.20.
Yes, I'd like the vote, so this is, you may recall, with the conversion to the, LED streetlights. The town was
Oil
supposed to
better?
get a rebate from Eversource.
I'll tell you tomorrow.
When I went back in the program before, it was gonna be 4,500.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
think, I thought Troy had said something at a meeting earlier in the year about 3,000, but anyway, it seems to be $6,388.20. So I'd like you guys to vote to accept it. It's under 10 grand, so I don't have to, do a hearing.
Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Leary. Second. Second by Mr. LaSalle's. All those in favor, Mr. Leary.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next we have is the TA report. Do you have anything to report?
Thank you. Just a little bit. So I'd like to thank the beautification group for the picnic table that they donated to the town hall, which I think is out, on that side. So I'd like, the selectmen to motion to accept the donation from them. It's a nice table.
Who donated it?
Beautification.
The beautification group.
Oh, really?
That guy
Yeah,
right
cause
there.
our other one rotted away and was falling apart, and all of a sudden one day, one popped up.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Nope, it wasn't him.
It was a deer. I made the motion to accept.
We have a
Okay.
motion by Ms. Queenan,
Second?
second by Mr. LaSalle's. All in favor, Mr. Leary.
Aye.
LaSalle's.
Aye.
Ms. Queenan.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And then I had the road salt salt contract came in. The price went up $7.22 per ton. Was 72, it's now 79.22 a ton. An increase of 12,996 in what we budgeted.
There goes Kevin's budget.
So I don't know if you guys wanna, change that, wait till it goes to budget committee, but yeah.
We usually take a look at everything one more time before it goes, right?
Well, it has to be in the budget committee the 22nd, and next week is kind of our last. So I'll
next week we
do
go
a
through
little
all of them.
memo with, so we go through the last and probably any
Fire, then I thought we had one more
We have
time.
all the big ones now,
Oh,
yeah.
thought we always had one more where we look at the whole thing.
Maybe after?
Yeah.
Cause we've gone to them, we don't have insurance rates in yet, so we have no health insurance rates, we have no dental insurance rates, we don't have workers' comp. Unemployment's usually not that much, but we don't have property liability, so there's a lot, we're still waiting for, so I
Road
think,
and salt is a known
yeah,
figure. We might as well put it there.
yeah, I think you should change it. I mean, we haven't voted on it, but I just wanted to let you know that
Yeah.
I
think
would
you
like
should
to change it in
then.
this budget, okay.
Yeah, change it.
And then I'll look at electricity and let you know next week
Okay.
what that is. And, that's it for me.
Thank you. Ms. Queenan?
What, are we doing reports?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, planning board. Did you hang around for that? Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 20th, 7 PM here at the town hall. Our last meeting was September 6th. What we discussed was, it started out as affordable housing, and it started to morph into workforce housing. So we had a developer in the room who discussed developer costs. The affordability definition was looked at for workforce housing. That is a dual income of $122,000 of combined earned income with a home cost of approximately $350,000. Rents, are going high. So we were stuck in inflation mode with no limit in sight at the moment for affordable homes. So regional statistics were discussed. We were discussing workforce housing. If Litchfield did do workforce housing, what does that do for statistics for our town? It's not measured by town, it's measured by region. So when the state looks at statistics, what do we have for workforce housing in our region, okay? So after we've realized costs are $1 million a house and income has to be a minimum of whatever, 122,000 to qualify, the realistic pathway that we see so far to make it work is denser population on smaller lots such as apartments, townhomes, etc. That's how the formula will work for the developer, and that's how it'll work for the formula for workforce housing. Not saying we're doing anything in town, we were just having the discussion about that. Home occupation.
Where does, excuse me,
Sure,
Kim,
yeah.
where does that leave the proposed development down in the south end of town? That
You're talking about the manufactured homes?
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't factor into that. That was now rezoned. Didn't zoning go after that and redid that, Michael? They went in front of zoning and I think it was affordable homes, right? I think they qualified for $350,000 or less.
Oh, so it's gone from 200 to 350?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the price of those homes are, but the threshold to be considered affordable is $350,000 or less. We're gonna look at master plan chapters, natural resources with all the water discussions going on, just to see where we are at. We're gonna finalize the facilities chapter, we're waiting for the SIP and economics. There's no update on the Albuquerque signage issue yet, going back and forth on the roads yet. National Regional Planning Commission, our next quarterly meeting is September 21st, 7 p.m., 30 Temple Street in Nashua. An update on the 10-year transportation plan. Litchfield applied for 2 grants. We applied for the intersection improvements at Route 3A Corning Road and a sidewalk extension on Pinecrest from Hildreth Road to Albuquerque Ave. This Wednesday, September 14th, our TTAC representative was supposed to go to NRPC and go over the grant proposals with that committee. We just signed, that was gonna be the new town administrator, or the road agent or highway person, right?
Yeah.
Jay Mancara says some of the towns do send a road agent or highway department manager as their first choice, town manager or administrator second, but it depends on town. So whatever was decided here is fine. Jay Mancara is going to do our presentation for us on Wednesday. All right? Capital Improvement Plan Committee, our next meeting is this Thursday, September 15th at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall. At our last meeting, I'll go through this briefly, the Conservation Commission came in. Jason handed these wonderful things out. I won't go over what he did, but you know what that handout that he had there. The Police Department came in. They went over the current SIP plan. They agree with the numbers. Also conservation, back to conservation, you're gonna leave the SIP plan numbers the way they were for the past. Right, the police department basically is keeping them almost the same. It's just, he looked at the design of the facility. He says there's been a rise in domestic violence when someone is placed in custody who may also have firearms. The police need a place to safely store those firearms. To follow best practices, when we build that new building and the architecture finally looks at the final copy, a detention facility area needs to have a better evidence room. There's been an increase in assaults, so bodily fluids and DNA need to be preserved, sometimes in freezers. For DNA, we do not have an adequate facility, so we currently put them in the hallway. This is not best practice. We need an area, equipment to handle fluids, DNA properly, and probably a freezer. On a busy day, there can be up to 10 or 11 officers working in one small room. It's tough. So when the final architect plans are to be done, please make sure the best practice items can be done, that officers have an adequate place to do work in correct size rooms. I'll leave the dispatch area alone. There's gonna be a software upgrade. John, I think they're gonna introduce some more monitors into the dispatch area over there. Okay. The fire department did come in and gave us an update on the truck, our least oldest truck. I guess they had come in here and asked for $48,000 to do the maintenance, and we had given them $60,000 to do it. They're not sure that's gonna cover it. All right. The second truck is 1995, and I'm not gonna go too far into this, but they need approximately $62,000 more to bring it up to shape, and that after that, its still total value is still $7,000 if you try to sell it. What they did say is last year, the cost of the fire truck that went to warrant article was $680,000. Now the cost, if booked now, will be $748,000, up $68,000. In January this year, there was a 5 to 7% increase. It also had a lead time for delivery is now 2.5 years. Okay, now not the place we're looking at, but a different manufacturing company, Hudson, the town of Hudson and Wolfboro booked a new fire truck with a different company than we're using. They were already contacted by the company that we're gonna have to up the price. Wolfboro is gonna sue them, and Hudson paid the money because they know they can't get the fire truck any sooner. They're gonna pay the money. That's not who we're going with. They're continuing to look for the used fire trucks. I don't know, this seems to be fluid. Do you think they found a fire truck? As of this time, they did.
Well, they had found one. I don't know if they
Okay.
reacted quick enough to get to it.
They found one that was 8 to 9 years old for $425,000 because of that lead time and price. 65 fire departments bid on that, and you have to show up with cash in hand.
Yep.
So, and you'd have to send 2 people out with a mechanic to look at it, hotels, fuel, and find a way to get the truck back, whether it's a flatbed or driving it back, so. So right now, they are looking at fire trucks and grants. Paul Kelly will do the grants, he's gonna take a grant writing course on that. The last thing I'll say here is, the SIP group, I think it was Kerry Douglas, made a suggestion to think about it from a budgeting forward planning point of view, to maybe raise $150,000 a year to be placed into an apparatus account, a capital reserve account. So this means on the SIP plan to add another line for $150,000 a year, so when we do need a fire truck, maybe in the future for the 1995 one that's coming up, maybe there'll be some money there. So they're still thinking, they hope they get some ARPA funds and part of the money from a warrant article. The final report is the Historical Society. I was at a meeting, somebody mentioned something briefly, and I just wanted to run it by us. It said, and I have this as follow-up to be done. In the future, metal detecting on town land may require written permission from the town. I will inquire on the status of this policy. I don't know what's going on with that. Does anybody have any input on that?
I can fill you in.
Okay.
I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago maybe, I was working at the old town hall, and a couple of fellas came in, and I knew who they were. They were gonna go across the street and do a little prospecting. So they said hello to me, and I walked over and asked them what they were doing, and they said they were gonna go dig up some stuff, and I said, you can't do that. That is now deemed a state archaeological site. And they said, oh, we're gonna be in the river. Well, the river is part of all of that because of the flood of 36 that washed away what was the town center. There's still remnants there, and they didn't want to hear about it. So they went down there, and I kept telling them, don't go down. I was trying to be a nice guy, don't go down there. Well, right after they went down there, Stephen Calawa drove in, and I told him, he comes by here 3 or 4 times a day, and he came down, and I'm like, they're down there. So he was gonna go down there, and I did not want him to. So I called the police. They sent some people out. They met them when they came back up, and I don't know if they told them they didn't get anything or not, but that night they posted online that they found a bunch of stuff. Coins dating back to 1700 and things like that. And they also put a shout out to the person who had nothing better to do than to call the cops, so it's me. And so we've been talking about what we need to do to stop this from happening. Now, there is a kiosk there that says you're not supposed to go down and do that, but maybe we make it a town ordinance that you don't dig on town land, period, without permission.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't do that. Although I see people across the street at the school detecting, and they don't dig deep, but they probably go down 6 inches. But they're detecting for coins, basically. Although I don't know who carries coins anymore. But probably rings and stuff, you know. But
could be old coins too. If you go
yeah,
back far
and
enough, the
you're right,
coins were all
you're
made out
right.
of gold. and
the
silver.
older the better.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that do it. It's a marvelous hobby, but you're right. You have to nip it in the bud somehow.
You gotta be respectful. That's the bottom line.
So is this gonna be a policy, or
I think it should be.
have a written permission, or, I'm not sure how this works, so. I don't know, that's why I'm asking, I just heard it and
I
I
think it should
said,
be a
oh, I don't know what
Yeah,
that
I mean,
means.
you'd probably have to bring an ordinance forward.
Do you want a zoning ordinance for it, or is it a town hall
I would make it
policy?
a
I
town,
wasn't sure.
I would make it a town
Town
policy.
ordinance.
Yep,
You want a town ordinance, not
Yep.
not a zoning ordinance?
yep, I'd make it a town one.
What do you
Because we can have backup from the boys in blue next door if we need that.
Town.
Oh, is anybody else?
Now, if it's private land, we don't get involved with
No,
that.
That's
Just
correct,
for town land.
just for town
Right.
land, yep,
Correct.
yep. They need to get homeowners, landowners' permission to go on private property.
Right.
And that town land would include school land.
That, they'd have to go to the school probably.
The school owns that
Yep,
land.
so, and we don't have any say over them.
Okay, all right.
And everything I just read, I'll send to our poor interpreter, Matt, so he doesn't have to listen to me talk quickly. I'll email this to Matt for the minutes, so they'll be in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it was long.
Rec Commission, we meet tomorrow evening. What's the big thing on our dock? It's probably what? Field maintenance contract? It's that one. School facility improvement, we meet Wednesday. I did have a meeting with the town of Hudson concerning the water system and how they went about purchasing the water system way back when. It's a great conversation. I never realized how interdependent our two systems are between Hudson and us. They actually monitor a lot of the flow in our system because it affects their system. So they probably know more about our system than we know about it. It was interesting to learn that our whole entire system is already mapped, and everybody knows everything about it and how the water goes. There was a consultant there who spoke a little bit about it, was extremely knowledgeable. There is some legalities out there. If a developer put the system in, or if another agency put it in, does Pennachuck actually own that water system? So it looks like the PUC is leaning to the part that if they didn't put it in, they don't own it. So if you look at the majority of our system, 60% of it was put in by developers or Saint-Gobain. So they think mathematically it could be good for, from a dollar standpoint, for us to buy out the system. So moving forward, I think as the board, what we should do is just put out a request for quote. They could actually, somebody could come forth, say, hey, we can go out and do a complete analysis on what the cost of the system would be. And from there, we could go and do it. And speculation was, that study could be anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000. So it could be a perfect use for ARPA funds.
Agreed.
At least this point, because this process will take at least 3 years, because it's gonna take us probably 8 months just to get the analysis. After we get the analysis, we have to decide, do we wanna go forth with a warrant? And so forth for it. But I think based on that conversation, it was something we really should go and investigate.
The other development on that is that Manchester is now expanding their regional relationship with various towns. And they're actually being quite aggressive.
Yeah.
As far away as Pelham and Wyndham and...
There's a water shortage, that's what's driving a lot of that. They're trying to make the systems different from where they actually get their water from.
But all those folks that pay their bills to the Manchester Water District can attest to how cheap the Manchester water is. And from what I heard, and all I've heard is over the news, but Massabesic has not gone down, even during this drought. It really has maintained its level pretty good, and their usage is way up. So,
And I think it was you that said before that when Hudson took over theirs, 20-something years ago, their rates have not gone up.
Their rates have not gone up in 22 years.
I mean, that in itself.
That's an eye-opener.
How does the water get through the pipes? Do we need a round pumping station? How would
No,
that?
everything comes through our pipes already. So there's a line that comes feeding through the Merrimack right now. That comes right across from Page or Talent. Talent right there. And then there's actually 3 wells in town that it goes through. And then there's a connection on the north end of
So
town.
Pennachuck isn't involved in the water flow itself, just the infrastructure. So if we can get our own infrastructure, you're saying we
Well,
don't
the
need
infrastructure's
anything else?
there. You need to buy the infrastructure, right? Then after you buy the infrastructure, then you have to go buy water, and you have to maintain the system. So we're so interdependent with Hudson, there's probably a cost share there on maintaining the system and all the flows and everything with it. And if you look at the actual system where they monitor from, it's in Litchfield, the building.
Do they have a water department?
They do have a water department, so they do their own billing and everything. They chose to bring that in-house, but when they first took it over, they had a third party do it.
I thought it was Pennachuck.
What's that?
Wasn't it Pennachuck that did it?
Actually, Pennachuck did it first for them, and from what I was told, Pennachuck does a really good job at it, but once you sever ties, like, why do you wanna go back and
Yeah.
dance with the demon?
I think it makes all the sense in the world with the snubbing that we got from the PUC this past
Yep.
year. We have to do something different, and I think we should pursue all the angles.
And we have a relatively very new system. And that's the other good part about it.
What about hydrant fees? Does that go down?
Goes away.
Goes away. Woo, that's a big part of the budget.
Goes away.
Goes away. Good.
So,
We need to remember that when we talk to the voters.
yeah. So I think it's just, I mean, right now, I think it's a dollar value that we probably can use funding for and go off and do the analysis for the community and come back and show them what the, you know, what the return of investment is. And what would the rate potentially be
Yep.
when it's paid for?
Kevin, what do you think?
I think you're on the right track with this. I think the ARPA funds would be good to look at the evaluation. There's those 3 wells in town, there was 4. 2 of them have ironed out and can't use the wells in, okay? But I like the idea that Manchester side, because that's lakeable water, and their water line goes through the town just about now. It's at the north end of town. Okay, so we can connect that through. So I think it's a good idea to research that, okay, to see how much it is. Because, to be honest with you, the Pennachuck East is where the problem is, and the PUC has not been helpful at all.
Good, thank you.
I think the next step is to contract with a consulting firm for a valuation assessment.
Correct, and let's not do a request for proposal, because if we do, we have to write specifications that they're gonna propose to.
Correct.
Go out for a request for quotation, and let them tell what they're gonna do for us.
Yep.
Makes the process a whole lot easier on our side.
And thanks for waking me up, Bobby.
No problem. Wash your hands.
All right, Mr. Larry, you're up.
Budget meets next week. We haven't met in a while.
Mr. Lascelles?
Well, I just want to start off by thanking the first responders who came over Thursday morning and pounded some sense in my head and took me to the hospital. And I was, of course, going to go with Steve on that meeting and had a very busy day planned, and of course it didn't work out. But I just want to thank those folks. I'm glad I had a meeting here at the town hall, and because that kind of forced the hand, and I just want to thank them for everything that they did. And as you can see, I'm here tonight. I got out of the hospital on Saturday, and hopefully I'm on the way to recovery. And my wife got out of the hospital on Friday, so we were in the same hospital, different floors, but I was in a room with another gentleman from Litchfield, and we had some became fast friends, but you just never know when you need help, you know. So, thank you. As far as the other reports there, we haven't had any Heritage Commission activity. Progress still goes with Dark Hole, but nothing new as far as I can tell. And nothing in the way of civil, what is it? I'm having
Emergency management?
Yeah, emergency management. So, big day tomorrow at the polls. I have to tell everybody, we got primaries tomorrow, a lot of big races. And if you don't go to the polls and vote, the political ads will continue. If you go to the polls and vote, the ads stop. So that's the motivator.
Good luck.
All right, thank you, Mr. LaSalle's. That concludes our public session for this evening. We do have two more items in a non-public session. One is under RSA 91A:32A, compensation of a public employee, and the other is RSA 91A:32B, hiring of a public employee. Do we have a motion to go into non-public?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary,
Second.
second by Ms. Queenan. Roll call vote. Ms. Queenan?
Hold on. Yes. Aye.
I am a yes.
I get that one confused.
Sure.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
All right.
All right, the board is now entering a non-public session. While we do not anticipate the need to return to a public session following the non-public session for any reason other than to adjourn the meeting, we reserve the right to do so if the non-public session necessitates the board taking actions. We are now going into non-session. Thank you for tuning in, and everybody be well.